What's going on, everyone? This is Bruce Ward, Chief Hoover.
Rex D. Enforcer Vasquez.
And we are the Comic Clowns Podcast. And at this point, I can officially just have you guys introducing yourselves on the next one. With me, as always, I have, at this point, almost always, since we've come back, is my two partners in crime. I got Jason Take Others Camardo and Don Canas Macaluso, or the Don. And rejoining us for a special, maybe one time, depending if he wants to come back for whatever the hell we're talking about.
That's debatable.
He did say maybe.
Grant, Gracchus, 4047 Kohler, and this is my normal raid team. That's right here. So how's everybody doing today?
I'll debate that.
Fantastic.
We'll debate if you're my raid team or not. We'll see who's raid leader in this scenario.
Well, me, of course.
Not me.
Not me.
I'm the guy that gets
I guess
the.
I'm getting the job by default then, I guess.
I'm the guy. I'm just the guy that gets the party together. Don, you just bounce the ideas off, okay?
I love that Nighthole
Direction,
raid
say
we did.
kill. Like, got it.
All right, so I just wanted to. So we're here now. We'll start from the top. Grant, we haven't seen you in forever. You got your own place. You're out of your basement, your grandparents' basement, and you're living in your own. That's okay. That's what I'm doing. It's awesome.
Make it sound like it was a bad thing where I was before.
No, it's just really cool to see people progress in their life, honestly. So what's been up? How's work been and everything? You still working during the quarantine, or what's going on?
Surprisingly, we told we were not to go into work about a month ago. But on the plus side, through all this, we're still getting paid.
Nice.
So it's like, yeah, benefits of being in a union.
I'm working from home myself, man. Don't worry. So pretty much I'm at this computer way too long nowadays. Jason, how's everything going?
I've been working 10-hour days in the office the past week and a half, so
Ouch.
I'm exempt.
Awesome. Don, how's the business?
Business is going well. We actually got incredibly busy at the end of last week. So, new projects coming in, print orders, some video projects. We're doing well.
Digital Coco Inc. Everybody, get on that. He's got the promotion on his hat. He's got and he's got the little logo in his camera for those who are watching on Twitch.
I don't know what side it's appearing on for them.
You had it right the first time. Good job.
I thought it was for the other thing, but okay.
Chris, how's everything going?
It's going.
Yeah, that's what I know. He made some good pork today, so that's Chris's like.
That's the highlight of the day.
That's his contribution for the week.
That's a pretty good highlight for a day, right?
So
in this time where we're all stuck at home, food can be a good comfort.
exactly.
Oh, yes.
So I pretty much like I've been thinking about the new releases that are coming out over the next year, over this year, and everything being pushed back and changed and being done. And I also thought to myself, what have I been doing recently, sitting in my basement while working, that I can just do and like just have fun with, and that has been World of Warcraft. Yes. So, as you see back in Don's corner here, so what I wanted to do is, it was kind of funny because like I thought to myself, like, there's so much lore and so much history and some great cinematics. If they could just come out with if their World of Warcraft movie would have looked like anything, or the Warcraft movie looked anything like their cinematics that they make, holy shit, it would have been amazing.
Oh,
It would have been great. It was still a good movie. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It was still a great movie. I enjoyed it. It was the animation. They could have done so many great things. And everyone here, I know I've been plagued since the beginning. I've been off and on, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about where everyone started, stopped, if they ever like took a quick break for a little bit. Like I know my freaking like subscription has been constant until I've been out of work, and then it's like, okay, turn that off because I need food. And then I wanted to talk about a little bit about the lore. But first, before I did that, I wanted to bring up some more updates for what we're doing here in the future. Thursday nights, I have, and Don and Chris and Jason have. I came up with the idea of starting a D&D game like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago. It feels like, and it has been solidly running. Like aside from the normal BS of people just can't make it that day, but like they'll be there the next week and people are always talking about it. The game was so big at one point we had 15 people almost, at one
Yeah,
point.
thereabouts.
Yeah, we had to split people up. So I pulled Don from the players, and I had him DM with
Mind
me.
you, that was after
One session.
night, one session of experience as a player.
Yep, because I figured he was the one working from home. He'll figure it out. He's got time to read.
Right.
But now we have taken that campaign, and we have everybody that's the main players now are now on Roll20. We took that campaign, and it's on Roll20. And there went Jason's. Yeah, okay.
I'll be right back.
I figured. We put it out onto Roll20, and I cannot wait. I'm going to start streaming that. So coming up soon, just on the stream itself, I'm going to get with Don and Bird behind me, and we're going to do a quick overview of the lore. Because like I said, this has been a year. This has been like almost a year and a half, 2 years that we've been playing this game.
I've ever been in.
Yeah, and
It was 2 years this summer.
I have like a fucking ending for it, but like yeah, I just wanted everyone to play. But we just gotta get there
We're ending
first.
for Act 2. We're only in Act 2 right now.
And whenever it gets to what we're doing here, so I want to get everyone caught up to play to watch because my stream or my other game becomes very complicated to play right now because Kyle does not have an exact like location for him to play. So once we get that figured out, I want to get that one rolling again. But this one will be, as long as everyone can make it, and since we're all stuck inside, we'll more than likely be able to play on Thursday nights around this same time. Now, the difference between a regular game on, like, Thursday nights is I can ad-lib my ass off in, like, those games, because I can just pull something up out of my ass. In that other one, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, because anyone who's ever used Roll20 before, you have to have a significant, you have to have like down to the like what you want to do with every piece. Because it gets very difficult to ad lib and pull shit out of your ass. Because dragging system's fantastic, very difficult to use. So be on the lookout for that. I want to start this Thursday. We'll see how that plans out. I think we're just waiting on Llewellyn. Is the only person that I have not confirmed or denied that he's got his stuff in. Don, if you could send him his sheet. Like a picture of it.
Pictures of it. Yep.
Awesome. Then we may be good to go. We'll see how that goes.
I double check on them.
Yeah, I will. I'll double check on everybody. But also other than that, I am still streaming on this channel with ranked TFT. I just picked up Valorant, so I'm giving that a go. I'm doing ranked League of Legends. I may start doing. I may take a week and do every raid in the game with Don and Chris here, and maybe Jason, and maybe Grant if he wants to. Every raid in the game that we can get our asses into from a Tuesday to a Tuesday and just blow through it. I think it'll be a great time because there's a lot of shit Chris has never done. Chris did his first raid today with me. Yeah, that was entertaining. He killed Jaina Proudmore was his first raid kill.
That's a biggie for a first one.
Yeah, that's a fun raid. That was a fun raid.
Especially for one where they actually did it 2 different sides, where you get a Horde perspective and an Alliance perspective in the same raid.
Very cool dungeon.
Oh, very cool raid. Very cool raid. We had some really good times there. And I just picked up flying in Zandalar, so I'm freaking happy with that because I told Chris to pull his money so I can give me his money so I can just buy Vial of the Sands and I can fly him around.
That's not a bad idea.
It really is. I told you it wasn't a bad idea, Chris. But
also with enough people, you're a warlock, so we could just summon him.
Oh no, I meant for while he's trying to world quest and stuff to get his flying, I can just fly him over to like the world quest locations, so he doesn't get
You're a taxi driver and WoW.
Uber.
He can do like the rest of us, and he can run his ass on the ground.
I've done that. Like that's something we'll talk about later. Is like our favorite moments. We'll talk about later our favorite moments and our favorite achievements, and we'll talk about that later because that is something that is. It's going to be ridiculous, like some of the stupid shit that we have done in that game. But first, I just got to ask, like, I just want to start from the top here, and this is where I really wanted Jason and Grant, and I wanted Don, because as you see, we got World of Warcraft 1, the base game, and then we have, like, all the expansions going after that. So I just wanted to see if we could get a good history, a good timeline, a good lore of what started. Wow, what was like that breaking point where they went, you know what we could do? MMO with this.
Do you want to go in great detail or abridge it?
Don?
I mean, we only have like a couple hours here. Because we could, I know, Grant, you and I could probably tell this story in 15, 16 days.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd be in there with you guys. I'm just like, I want someone else to hear I want someone else's voice other than mine.
It's just with everything that's been coming out, thanks to Chronicle and the new information. It's like, how far back do you want to go?
Let's go with
exactly.
Well, I can broad stroke vanilla content real quick. Picking up after Warcraft 3, which was the
Rise of the Lich King.
Yeah, that being the expansion, the Frozen Throne expansion. So picking up after that, we've got the Alliance, we've got the Horde, we've got the factions that have declared their allegiance to one side or the other. The Horde in Warcraft 3 having made their way across the sea over to the Kalimdor side of the world and establishing their new home and their new faction together as the Horde with the Tauren, with the Forsaken, the Orcs, and the Trolls, the Darkspear Trolls, and the Alliance sitting pretty comfortably in the continent that was formerly known as Azeroth. We've got Lord Iran and Eastern Kingdoms area, and that's where the game picks up. Is the big bads are still kind of looming, but relative peace between the factions. Things are getting going, and we're discovering the world. We're figuring out what threats linger. So there's you don't start off the game with a main focused goal. Here's the big bad guy. You don't learn that until well into the game. But that's where we pick off in vanilla World of Warcraft. Just coming off of Warcraft 3, and here's the world, and go exploring.
And if most of WoW has taught me anything, it's mostly like the bad guys are good people that bad things happen to them that turn them into the bad guys.
You know what? We should probably visit that at every expansion because it's...
Oh, yeah.
It's depending on who asked that question.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, that's where we're getting to. So, let's start here. So, if we start with... if we want to talk about World of Warcraft, there was 10, huge patch updates in... content, if you will, that came out of Warcraft, which was the World of Warcraft, Mysteries of Mirrodin, Ruins of Dire Maul, Battlegrounds, Assault of Blackwing Lair, The Rise of the Blood God, Dragons of Nightmare, The Gates of Arakiraj. I'm gonna murder that shit. Ankaraj, fuck it. Shadow of the Necropolis and Drums of War. Those were the big ones that popped out of everything, out of that one.
Yeah, that was the neat thing about vanilla is they were still building game systems. The things that we take for granted today, that we have multiple raids throughout an expansion, multiple dungeons, progressive content, even the PvP system itself, they didn't exist at launch. So we're talking about a game that was really, I don't want to say being finished, because they did have a lot of content done at release, but we're seeing the footwork for what future expansions and what their content cycles would look like being formed just kind of on the fly when things are ready.
It's just one of those things that helped that they had Warcraft 3 and the Frozen Throne to use that as a template or a stepping stone of what they can expand on top of that, since they already had sort of an established lore for the game.
Right, yeah, a lot of the seeds for what happens in World of Warcraft, not just in the vanilla base game, but throughout the Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, those seeds were planted in Warcraft 3.
Yep.
In the Frozen Throne expansion. So those are the things that we see come to fruition. That's all content that they were able to build off of. And they came up with new content for World of Warcraft, the vanilla release, the 1.0 version, but it built off a lot of established characters and a lot of established motives happening from the previous games.
So when we look at that one, it's a lot of outside bad guys. If we look at each one of those things, no one really belonged to the Horde. They weren't all like, oh, look at those orcs over there, like that kind of thing half the time. But I mean, well, if you look at the gates, obviously trolls. When you look at Dire Maul, you had the ogres. Blackwing Lair, Dragon. Boom. There we go. Black Dragonflight fucking things up already. But that's about where I came in, because I was in the military at the time, and my friend Chuckles told me about this, and I just picked it up, and I loved every minute. I was having a great time with it. Of course, it sucked up so much of my time. I would say it cost me my first marriage. No, I'm kidding. That thing was going down. That wasn't going well to begin with, so...
Whole different ship took that one down.
It saved me. But after, so after that happened, we launch into the Burning Crusade. Now, this is where I had more time to actually... And I started playing more with my friend Tony Freed. And we both made... the new Horde race, which I did not start. I tried Orc way back in the day, and I didn't get a chance to do that. So when I got in here, I really made my first character, the one that I've been running with this entire time, the one my freaking name's made after. I hit randomizer, got Lothion, and there it was. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm keeping it. And I have ever since. And it was a Blood Elf Warlock, because funny part is he went Blood Elf Paladin, the two opposites of each other, and we just soloed everything because we were broken. Nothing could really stop us at that point. But in the Burning Crusade, they introduced the Draenei, and they introduced the Blood Elves, or used to be Mana Elves, used to be a whole bunch of other fun stuff. Used to be Sylvanas, all the fun stuff. Bad guy number one in this series. Now, if anything has ever taught me, if you're playing Horde, and this just started the trail right here. If you're playing Horde, assume somebody of your race is going to fuck something up really quick. And here we were.
That's been fairly accurate. Any Horde major character with a name can very likely be the bad guy at any point.
And will be. All right, and more likely will be. But
that really only comes from two of the factions of the Horde, coming from the Forsaken and coming from the Orcs.
Exactly.
You're not really seeing a lot of bad coming out of the Horde.
Blood Elves. Kel'Thas.
Well, okay. Yeah, we'll throw them in since we're talking about burning.
Yeah, we're on Burning Crusade, so here we go.
The Troll Warlord Zul'jin and Zulaman.
Wasn't a Darkspear though. So
It wasn't.
he wasn't a Amani.
But still a troll.
Let's go ahead and... Hey, so it's half the internet. We don't care. Go ahead, Chris.
Was a major bad guy at some point?
He could have been. He was very close.
I'm just saying, you guys just said that.
No, we said a named character could be a bad guy. Yes, could be a bad guy. And it's very close. At some points, he nearly was. He nearly ripped apart a lot of elemental shit when he was down in the Maelstrom. But that comes in Cataclysm, which we'll get to later.
Or if you want to jump ahead 14 years in the Visions of N'Zoth, you actually do fight him there in the Orgrimmar Vision of the Future. So
it turns out pretty bad. Let's talk about all the bad humans inside of this.
Arthas.
Yeah, one.
All humans are bad.
Yeah. I'm talking about WoW, not real life.
I was talking about WoW.
yeah, Proudmoore.
Jaina's great.
No, not Jaina.
Dalen Proudmoore.
Yeah, Proudmoore.
But that was in Frozen Throne.
That's Frozen Throne. I'm talking about this game.
Yeah, that's going back to the RTS, but what he started there did see a lot of bad happen as a result of it. So
we'll get to that. So as we go through Burning Crusade, we had the first couple three, which, god damn it, we have the...
So would this be like the second war then?
The second expansion. We're on the second expansion right now.
Not the expansion war.
No.
No, the second war was second war was Warcraft 2.
Yeah, there's been no wars here by any chance. I know what you're reading right now.
And
I know.
4-4 was Battle for Azeroth.
Correct. So, if we go through this really quick, we have the Burning Crusade, which was the opening of the Black Temple. Now, Burning Crusade, rolled up in one sentence here, is a bunch of people rolling up on someone else's lawn starting some shit.
Basically.
Okay?
Yeah.
As we beat Illidan today, I'm like, motherfucker just left him alone. Like, we didn't have... We America'd his ass. Like
We didn't know better back then.
We America the shit out of him. You know what Outlands looks like it could use right now? Freedom.
America.
Freedom.
Yeah.
It's because it had oil. It had oil. He hadn't paid taxes.
Resources.
Illidan hadn't paid taxes in like 6 years, or like 1,000 years, you know. So like we're just coming in to collect.
They were sovereign citizens and go to a new area and claim it as their own, and they were independent. Didn't work out for them.
Like you feel bad for Illidan. But that's why I don't count Illidan like as a bad guy in that scenario. Like he is a night elf, he's a demon hunter. I didn't consider him a bad person. We walked up and as these kids are saying we wanted that smoke. We were like, we're gonna kick your ass, and he's like, I'm just chilling. I'm building an army to stop the army that's going to try to kill you. Like,
and that's
what
what
the
Burning
fuck?
Crusade did, is that the main antagonist that was always on the logo of the Burning Crusade as the bad guy, turned out he wasn't, and it ended up being killed Jaden later on in the expansion.
He wasn't even on the box. Like
in the main cinematic, then.
Oh yeah.
In the main cinematic, yeah.
But let's face it, that cinematic straight up gave us like the best thing like ever. You are not prepared. That shit. Oh, when you heard that, like that was good.
So I want to back up to Illidan for a second, and all of this we find out later that his intentions were good. That's another thing that's all still set up back in Warcraft 3. You can see the origins of the character when he goes from just a night elf to being a demon hunter, to giving up his power to the demons to be able to attack the Lich King. So you see that fall, and they give him the name the Betrayer for what he did. That name given to him by his own people before they lock him up. But you can see as you play through that game and see those cinematics that you can start to kind of understand why he would do this. You see his intentions. What I loved about Burning Crusade and the storyline there is you get to Outland knowing that Illidan is coming back and needs to be defeated, and the storyline they give you in Outland sets the stage of all this bad stuff he's done, all the people he's persecuted and has controlled, and you are working alongside them. So your character, for all they know, you're helping to free these people that have been subjugated by Illidan for his arguably noble goals. But I think that's a nice way for your character to have the motivation to go in there versus someone knowing the backstory and knowing the gray area. They give you that one side of the story that would justify your motivations to go into the Black Temple.
You're muted.
I'm muted. So that was me. My bad. So you look at that for a minute, and like you think to yourself, like, if you knew like Illidan wasn't that bad of a person, but you hear him how he gets persecuted by his people for doing that shit, and you're like, why? He's doing what you guys A, don't have the power to do, or B, don't have the resolve to do. He's going to fucking get up there and he's going to get this shit done. He's going to try.
Really just looking at him saying, all right, I'll help you out, but I'm doing it my way.
Exactly. He did the thing, and at first he never asked any night elves to go with him. That's the thing. What he did on his own. He's like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do the solo. I'm going to make the sacrifice so no one else has to. And then when we get to Legion, they pushed him. He realized that there were others. There were others that needed him.
And the allies that he needed to help him in his crusade, he sought from outside of the Alliance because they had shunned him, because he had become an outcast and knew they wouldn't accept him back. He went on. He said, I know that they're not going to appreciate this. I'm going to go find allies somewhere else. And that's where he finds Lady Vosh and Kael'thas and forms up with them.
Mm-hmm.
Form an army.
So let's go back. Let's move on then, because now we know what Illidan happens. And spoiler alert, you win. As long as you have a good raid group, you win. As Chris, I took Chris through Black Temple today, and I showed him like this was a raid. Look how long this was.
Oh,
like,
it takes forever just to walk through it.
It just to walk through the damn thing took us like 20. We could one shot everything, and it still took us like a half hour, 45 minutes just to get through the damn thing. So
well, let's not forget, we also take a brief little trip to see Kill Jaden and
Yeah, who
keep
was
him from entering the world.
in the end the actual end boss of the whole expansion.
Well, let me get to that, because then we have the Gods of Zulaman, which got, I think, placed in between there. I feel like that one got placed in there as a buffer. Just something,
so.
yeah. Which, man, we don't have to dwell too hard on that one. It was just a nice raid.
Where that fits in, and this is one of the things I loved about Burning Crusade, the adjustments to the raid sizes, seeing the 40-man drop down to a 25. Yeah, 40 was cool, 25 was manageable. If you led a raid at the time, it was so much easier. But you also saw the introduction of a better focus on the 10-man dungeons. Karazhan being in just the level of detail that goes into Karazhan for a 10-player dungeon that was arguably a casual raid. I didn't think so. I thought it was very well tuned and very difficult if you weren't prepared. And they expand on that with Zulaman to give you another even harder 10-man dungeon. That one was not easy. I've pugged both of them back in the day, and Zulaman, you needed a good group, especially if you wanted that bear mount.
Yeah, that's
We're gonna bury you here.
Well, I'm saying that's if we're talking about gameplay and things like that. Gameplay is just gameplay at this point. If you know how to plus your abilities and you know how to play, then yeah, the raids are great. I'm just talking about story right now. I want to get into the lore and how much I enjoyed that. But yes, I agree wholeheartedly. Like, those raids changed everything. But now we move on to the Fury of the Sunwell, which, once again, Horde! Let's fuck some shit up. As I did not get a chance to take Chris through the Sunwell Plateau. We ended up there. I just didn't get a chance to walk him through meeting Kill Jaden, because we wanted to go do the Ashes of Alar run really quick. So, because that was the whole point of it. I'm like, fuck it, let's go do a raid you've never done before. Let's just bounce through a raid, and that's the fun part with that. Like, you can bounce through them now, and you can just listen to people talk. Like, we took our time when we got to, like, some of the bosses where I knew there were some cinematic histories and things like that. And Jason, you want to talk about, like, Sunwell Plateau or the Eye, which were the final two raids that came out in that series?
The Eye was not one of the final ones.
When did the Eye come out?
That was tier 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Came out the same time that Super Shrine did.
My bad, I forgot when that one came out. So, go ahead and talk about, like, any of those raids that came out where it involved the Blood Elves, if you want to.
Man, it's been so long, and I haven't run those really because, you know, I don't need mounts from there. So why would I go back and run?
I meant the lore, but okay.
Time walking. You get Magister's Terrace and a time walking.
I needed.
That's true.
Did you get the Ashes of Alar already?
No, but that's like 30 seconds into the raid when you're level 120.
Always a good time there. So, Grant, give me, like, a history of Kael'thas. What was his motivation?
Essentially, all this for Kael'thas Sunstrider could actually start back in Warcraft 3, as we've mentioned numerous times already, where after the destruction of the Sunwell by the Scourge to bring back Kel'Thuzad as a Lich, that pretty much drained all the power and magical energies that the High Elves at the time were consuming, and it became a drug addiction for the High Elves. And they eventually became known as the Sin'dorei, or the Blood Elves. They tried to help out the alliance that remained in Lordaeron, but were pushed out and never trusted by Lord Garithos in the Frozen Throne expansion. This is where he actually met Lady Vosh and started telling him, hey, there's this guy named Illidan who can probably help you with your people's addiction. He went along with it and helped, like we mentioned before, helped out Vosh and Illidan, and later Akama, to take over Outland from the Pit Lord Mechtheridin. At this point, Kael'thas saw Illidan's ideas as short-sighted, and he grew impatient, thus led to the first time we encounter him at the Tempest Keep raid, which I actually took part in when it first came out. He was defeated there, but was not destroyed. He actually went back to Silvermoon City to actually forge a new alliance to try to bring the one that would deliver his people the power they needed Kill Jaden.
Yay! Demons. Nothing bad has ever come of that one. Ah, god damn it. As every sad warlock story ever starts, you know. It's like, so there was a demon. Ah, shit.
So I made this pack.
So I talked to a demon. Well, this never ends.
I'll call you back later. I got it under control. Come on.
This can't be bad. So you go
when
through.
you're dealing in fell magics.
Hey, I fucking love fell magic. It's not as bad as you think. says the warlock player.
It's a tolerable drug.
I think anyone who has played Demonology Warlock, the incarnation from Battle for Azeroth, has at least an understanding of this is pretty cool.
Oh, I also got the. I told Chris, I'm like, oh shit. I told him like I went through a while back and I picked up the grimoire to turn all of my fire attacks green to use fell magic, which is probably one of the coolest shit ever. It's like, why? Because this makes me not look like a fire mage anymore. I'm throwing green shit at people. It makes you feel better, you know. Like as I always told, I'm just a freaking. What is it? Like a shadow mage, like a shadow priest is just a neutered. Is it just a neutered warlock? It's more like with a condom on. I can pop a bubble at any time.
Yeah, until you look at the raid logs and then you see that it's the other way around.
And they got warlocks who are like, well, if I get jumped, I'm dead, so it doesn't really matter. All right, so next one up, Wrath of the Lich King. We can just like bury through this one. I'm gonna say right now, Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King, favorite 2 expansions to come out. Like, I loved them. I did. I enjoyed all the lore, the deep buried stuff that was inside of them. Had such a great time. The raids were fun. I enjoyed the raids. I didn't like when it got towards the end where it all became tank and spank and you're pretty much done. But it was still great. To me, they were so... I don't know. I enjoy the crap out of them. I still hang around freaking Northrend every once in a while just to BS. Half my characters are stuck there right now because I haven't leveled them up yet. But they're just hanging out in the Barren Tundra or Ice Crown, just chilling. So the big thing obviously here we have, if we want to run that down really fast, the 2 big ones is we can just say like the Fall of the Lich King. We're just going to go kill Arthas. Big surprise, right, guys? Woohoo. But the ones that were in there that were different were the Secrets of Ulduar. That one right there, like with the Titans and things like that. Hey Don, did you want to touch on the Titans?
Yeah, well, I'd love to. That's probably my favorite raid zone in the history of the game. I had so much fun in that one. I thought it was beautifully designed, not just from an art perspective, but from a gameplay perspective. Loved everything about it. The armor sets were amazing. The fights were just unbelievable. The zone was massive. It genuinely felt like an epic raid should. And the story that you get behind it, the origin of the dwarves and the gnomes, and how they come from the earth and the curse of flesh that turned them into more typical mammal creatures from these stone origins they were, and learning more about how the Titans influence not just Azeroth but planets in general, and all of the uh, mechanical features that they add in to the worlds to keep them under control, to reoriginate them if they need to, and to hold in prison one of the biggest bads in the game for years to come, the old gods that had infested the planet. So much going on in that dungeon. From any perspective you would look at it, it is very influential.
Agreed. It was great. Jason, you got anything to tack on to that one?
I'm trying to catch up and read, so...
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. But
so while he's thinking, I do want to
I
point
was
out
going to
something.
say, Ulduar was one of the ones I ran one time. I never... So, like, when Wrath came out, I was on deployment. I was in the military at the time. There was a lot of time that I didn't get to play. So, when those raids came out, I'd finally, like, towards the end of that expansion, had finally caught up to cap level. and I was doing a lot of like, and this is before like Looking for Raid came out. I didn't have a really cool guild to like jump around in because they wanted you to be active, and I'm like, well, I'm in the middle of the Gulf. Sorry. But I will say the last thing that I did on my ship that was really badass was set up a private WoW server for the ship that ran between like 6 different locations, and I thought that was really fun. I was ordered by my chief, my E7, to do that. And I thought that was... I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, dude. This is the nicest thing you've ever had me do. I'd rather do that than go sweep water. Fuck. All right. I can help run mine. But, I mean, that was... and I still go back to Lich King. Like, there was a private server like that was doing Lich King, and I jumped onto that when I could. I had such a good time in Lich King. Death Knight's coming out in Lich King was... it introduced people to a new melee warlock class, effectively, with a lot of shadow damage and, like, tankiness, and it's like, I like that. I can deal with that. And then Lich King Raid was just fun. Like, releasing it wing by wing.
Yeah, and a beautiful job they did too of incorporating the expansion's big bad into the story the whole time.
Oh, you saw them everywhere.
Yeah, in Burning
Yeah,
Crusade
because
we
they
got a little
learned from the Burning Crusade. Like, you hear Illidan, like, yeah, he's there, but you never really have that presence of he's right over your shoulder.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing with that one.
Illidan once in the opening cinematic, and then it's a year and a half before you finally see him.
But that's the thing.
Yep.
But that's the thing with that one right there, and I think that's where it goes back to Burning Crusade. Was you weren't supposed to feel that, and this goes back to if you knew the games before that, and most people could understand this, that Illidan wasn't supposed to be that very scary guy. He was supposed to be building an army, but he had his purpose. He was just trying to be left alone. Like, even this opening cinematic, it says, you cross over to my realm, my domain. You came to me. I didn't come to you looking for a fight. You guys came to me. Arthas, on the other hand, is like, well, fuck all of you. I'm just going to take over everything. Because that's what he was trying to do. Which, by the way, if you ever get a chance and you're listening to this and you haven't done it yet, go watch all the cinematics. The cinematics are beautiful. Especially the Wrath of the Lich King one, like, really set the bar on a lot of things there because of the talking in the background. It gave you the past tense of Frozen Throne on what he had done, what made him the Lich King, things like that. It felt great.
And not just the cinematic that opens the expansion, but the Wrathgate cinematic, which is no longer in the game because it's out of the story after some revamps. But go back if you haven't seen that and watch what happens as the Alliance and Horde forces approach Icecrown Glacier at the Wrath Gate, and see what that's a huge moment that really sets that expansion to let people know this guy is trouble, and to have an experience like that while you're leveling really just, I think from a lore perspective, a story perspective, gives you a lot of drive.
Even the dungeons, there's that
This is one of those things, like, even when he prepared to, like, face the Alliance and Horde, it's just one of those, this is either gonna work for you or it's not. Game-wise, we know it's not gonna work for him, but it's one of those, you better prepare yourself, because this might be the end for you.
Like, even like when you did the dungeon with Sylvanas and you did the run that was going to have you try to destroy Frostmourne and all these other things, like, you got to see Sylvanas versus the Lich King, and that shit didn't work at all for her. And you had to run, and you're like, oh, I got the Lich King in here. I get to beat him down and watch him run. Why am I running? Oh, shit.
Yeah, the whole chase scene was fun.
Oh, it was. It was just, it gave you that first time you did it. You're like, this is so... I'm fighting the Lich King, and I'm not doing shit, though, so we need to run.
Yeah, they gave us dungeons that were story-driven and cinematic more so than any dungeon had been prior to that. And that's just, we're talking 5-man content. The raids were always pretty epic to walk into. It had a lot of story, but the dungeons, a lot of them forgettable for why you're there. But you get in Wrath of the Lich King, especially towards the end, dungeons that are bringing you into the story.
And then
like, two examples of that would be the one where we're trying to destroy Frostmourne, and we find out more of what it means to actually be the Lich King while trying to either destroy or try to save Arthas, depending on if you're Alliance or Horde, because it's Jaina for the Alliance, Sylvanas for the Horde, and for the Fall of the Lich King raid, we actually face off against Sarfang's son as a Death Knight, and he died at the Wrathgate and was risen as a Death Knight.
Mm-hmm. Jason?
So, actually, that's a good segue, because one of my favorite things that Wrath did is that whole intro, you get the Death Knight as a playable class, and that whole intro, that whole, like, epicness, like, you get risen, you go through this whole thing, this whole story, like, multiple levels, you get to gear up, and it's just so fun, and you get so immersed in the story, it's just a blast.
Best intro to a class, bar none so far.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to start a class at level 55 as a hero class, you got to give them something cool coming in. You got to really introduce them, and they did a fantastic job of that, too. That was a ton of fun.
But even...
Especially at the end of it.
Even at the end of it, where you got to feel that disrespect, because you're running through Org or you're running through Stormwind, you're getting shit thrown at you the whole time, and you're like, damn, okay, this is wow, okay. It's very fun. Like, honestly, Wrath is... I could talk days for Wrath, honestly. It's probably what... Like, was it Chris Mather? Loki. Me and him fucking bonded on Wrath of the Lich King. It was so much fun. I wish I would have been there for every content release, especially the Argent Crusade, like the Argent Tournament dailies. Those were entertaining.
Yes, they were.
And it also introduced flying, and then there was Burning Crusade did. Then you got the cold weather flying, which made everything so much easier.
Well, and what I think they did a nice job with flying is that in Burning Crusade, you had some areas that were easier to access, or some small areas that were inaccessible without flying. So yeah, you had to get it, but it didn't really feel like it was necessary for the experience of the expansion. Whereas in Wrath of the Lich King, look at the Storm Peaks zone, an entire zone of the game that is designed around flying. If you're going to have flying in a game, give me something like that really showcases the power of flying, or even outside Ice Crown Citadel and the glacier itself.
Freaking Malagos's area with the blue dragonflight over there. That whole pillar going straight up, and it has so much detail going up the side, and you can't really get all of it. You can't feel all of it until you get up there.
Right.
Personally,
and when you get to Ice Crown Glacier and you're flying, you've got your safe zones that are high up in the mountains where your quest hubs are, or you've got your airships as well flying over the entire zone.
Oh yeah, dropping on those were fun.
Yeah, but then you fly over and you see the chasm throughout the glacier, and it is littered with Scourge forces. Like, you cannot set foot down there. You need flying to cover this area, because you're gonna die if you walk down there. You are in the heart of enemy territory.
It felt good.
Yeah, it felt good to fly over that. It was neat. It was incredible spectacle.
All right, so moving on from Wrath, because honestly, we'll go ahead and rank the expansions when we're done here, like what we think's the best one on from there, and yeah, because we're not leaving Wrath at all. The next one here, and this is where I got to enter max level for the first time, because I gotten out of the military, and I'm like, okay, so we have a cinematic, we have a trailer, what's this? Cataclysm dropped. And that was like the oh shit moment.
We watched that in class together.
Oh yeah. By this time, like, I got out of the military. I met Brian. I met Jason. Finally came over to our school, which thank God I needed someone to drink with. Yeah, cheers, buddy. And that dropped, and both of us are just sitting there. Like, there's three of us just crowded around this table looking at this cinematic, like, this looks so damn good that three of us took 3 days off of school, and our quarter started that Tuesday. We caught so much shit for that, but I stayed awake for 3 days playing the opening act of Cataclysm, because it changed everything. It changed so much, but I had no idea who Nefarian was, like who Deathwing was, and then I finally. And as you go on, you finally, that once again, the expansion explains on the lore. I got a fucking achievement for getting killed by Deathwing. What the fuck?
Man, I was in a cave.
During the opening
thing.
At the pre-patch. So a lot of the expansions, and we'll touch on this real quick, have had some type of opening content to lead you into what's about to happen. And some great ones too. The one leading into Wrath was a ton of fun. the Scourge invasion, but having after Cataclysm, having Deathwing flying around the world of Azeroth, and randomly a zone would just turn red while you're questing there, and boom, he firebombs the entire place. You are
God
dead.
damn.
I didn't know he was there. I'm just running. I'm like, this is pretty fun. Riding on my horse, Fire! What the fuck was that?
Well, that's
Yeah.
what sucked for me, is I was questing in like a cave, and all of a sudden, achievement, and I'm dead. I'm like, what? What?
How did this even hit me? But here's the thing. Cataclysm did the one thing that everyone was begging for, because at the end of Wrath of the Lich King, as fun as everything was, it became tank and spank. Everything was so easy. Everyone had like millions of health. Nothing died.
Well, I will say from a gameplay perspective, yeah, a lot of the normal mode raids and dungeons were like that. You switch those things over to the hard mode.
Oh, heroics were
started
nothing at that
World War-
point.
Well, heroic.
Oh,
you know,
heroic five-man. That's what I'm saying. Heroic
Switch
five-man.
over to the raids, and now you've got fights that are genuinely difficult. And I think some of the Ice Crown fights, the ICC fights, were difficult when you got further into them, when you got to some of the late wing bosses. But you flip that thing
But there
over
was
to-
no
to hard
LFR at that point, so I'll say that I didn't get a chance to do a lot of that. So for me, all I got to do was heroic dungeons. So I did the heroic dungeons, and they were like a blink of an eye, like they were nothing. Like I could be a healer, and I just got to throw a bubble on somebody, and I'm done. It was just nothing. Like the tanks just didn't die anymore. But Cataclysm, that's where things became more difficult, and I enjoyed that. A lot of people bitched about it. Me and Jason saw people bitching all the time when we were in school, and it was just a joke to us. Like, this is so much fun. And that's where I finally got into a guild, and I got to raid, and I got to like actually start doing end game content. And this is where I'll admit right here, this is where I bowed out just for a bit, because I knew I was getting more obsessed than I should have been. And then I was in the middle of a raid, and it was in December, and it was 15 degrees out, and my heater went out.
Oh.
And yeah, the heater went out. And you know what that means. Get off your computer or I kick your ass.
Yeah.
And I am down for that. My dad doesn't kick my ass anymore. I'm too big. He'll shoot me. There's a difference. So I'm done. And I tell the guy, like, I gotta go. My heater went out. I'm in Chicago. I gotta go. And the guy goes, no, fuck that shit. You need to stay or you're out. And I'm like, well, I need to walk away because I'm gone way too far into with these people for a bit. And this is when, like, Mr. Pandaria had just been announced as well. And I had looked at it and went, wow, Kung Fu Panda with Pokemon. But when we get to Cataclysm, like, they changed everything. The leveling zones. You wanted to make a new character because you wanted to flow through those new leveling zones, see how it felt. I had such a good time raiding in there because I was a Demonology Warlock, and my guild had no idea that a Demo Warlock could do the damage I could do on one particular raid. And it was the Alchemist, and he pretty much summons a whole bunch of guys in one spot. Like, we need to burn these down as fast as we can. I'm like, well, if you guys heal me, I can do it. And I did it, and they were like, you can never leave. Hellfire, Metamorphosis, Emulation Aura. It's like, you can never leave. I'm like, I know. I solidified my spot at that very second. That was it, though. It wasn't good for anything else.
Until the heat went out.
Until he went out, and I'm like, I'm done. I can't deal with some of these people. So I'll. But Cataclysm, what you got? You got anything you want to tack on to for Cata, Jason?
Well, like you touched on, I liked that it kind of changed the whole, like, starting zone. You know, Deathwing came through, tore shit up, and then that also allowed to introduce flying into the original game. So you could start flying in the original zones, because up until then, you wanted to go visit Orgrimmar, you're back on the ground, you couldn't fly. So once Cata came in and redid all of that, they finally were able to, you know, write that in, and, you know, now we can fly everywhere, which was huge when you wanted to revisit something in the, you know, or just go back there for whatever reason.
Your Azeroth flying license, that was it was a quick purchase too, so that was like, oh, that's awesome. And then your whole account got it when you bought it, I think. I don't believe.
No, I think it was full character.
No, that was per character. My bad. That one was per character. The Northrend flying was. That one might have been an account. I have to double check. Everyone's got it when I do it, so that's all I know. But the Shattering was fantastic. I had such a good time. I had a good time there, Grant.
I have to say, this is the second best expansion, in my personal opinion. First being Wrath of the Lich King. And what I liked about it when they changed the whole world itself was that for when you went back to the starting zone, if you wanted to make another tune, is that this quest line flowed so much better than it did for the vanilla version of the game. Because even for example, for the human quest line, you have that expanding over at least 3 zones with a core element of why you're doing all this.
And you had a really cool villain. One of my favorite fights was watching Alex Straza fight Deathwing, and there was a whole quest line for that, and it was pretty cool because it was like, wow, this is, for not being in a raid, this is pretty badass.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, I completely bowed out of Mist of Pandaria. I'll admit that completely. Didn't really intrigue me.
I mean, I tried it, but
I
after a
didn't.
while, I was like, yeah.
I didn't.
I played it.
Yep. Me too.
I don't know you guys played it. I still had the account. I was still paying for it. I bowed out when I lost lost one of my jobs, and I killed the account. And when I came back, I literally got like a 20-day free subscription to go back, and I played Warlords of Draenor, which within like 20 days I had literally blown through Warlords of Draenor. I'm like, wow, I'm already max level. Wow, fuck, okay, damn. And I thought that was, but Mists, anybody, like Don, you want to tack on anything on Mists?
Sure. Miss, I think, is where the game really hit its peak as far as class identity. Every class, every spec had its purpose. A lot of fun abilities. That's where you got warlocks doing crazy damage, especially as demon, and where we thought, hey, maybe they're gonna let warlocks be a cloth-based tank. It was looking that way with some of the abilities they had. I really enjoy the introduction of monks. Probably it's up there in competition for second or third favorite class in the game. Mechanically, super fun to play. It plays exactly like you think the spec would. It's very flowing type of rhythmic gameplay. Even to this day, they've done a good job of retaining a lot of that. But that was the big thing for me with Miss. Here's classes that are filled out. They have abilities that work. They have their defined niche in the game world, and in a raid setting and dungeon settings, but not so much that you could still make your perfect class composition, but you didn't have to have one of every particular role from each class filled. I thoroughly enjoyed the game, and I really wish that wasn't the expansion where I no longer had a dedicated guild to play with. That was last in Cataclysm, that I had a guild that was very, very hardcore doing the content. And so I experienced Pandaria mostly through Raid Finder, mostly through solo play. I did take a little bit of a break towards the end of it because it lost a lot of its appeal when you weren't part of that big content. But beautiful zones, lots to do. They introduced the farms that you could have, like your own little personal area of the world that you can go and visit every day and reap rewards from. You're seeing the stage set for a lot of the fun activities that don't require you to be in an active guild. Things
Don't
that
forget How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah. So
Pokemon.
it did a lot of good in that regard, and that's why a lot of people say it's the best, or when WoW was the best. I don't necessarily agree. I think there were times that I enjoyed the game more than in Miss, but I don't have a lot of faults with that expansion. And the story, I mean, take it for what you will. I know a lot of people didn't find the Pandaren to be that appealing. They thought it was a joke. It was laughable. This shouldn't belong here. But it was neat to see an introduction of a new race that could join either faction. Level 10 hits, you finish your starting zone, you pick your faction.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
One thing with the lore as well, that they actually went into more detail in terms like hinting at the Void Lords and the Titans itself, and introducing the Shah, which were pretty much the remnants of I think it was the old god
Old gods.
Yisharaj, who was ripped out of the planet by the Titans, and what was left over was the Shah, which were all these dark emotions that people felt while on Pandaria.
All right, Chris, you're about to say something?
I was just gonna say, because I play a monk right now, and I had a higher level monk, and it was just a pain in the ass to find fist weapons for it. So when I found out there was fist weapons, I'm like, holy shit, I got a monk. Let's get this guy some fist weapons.
That's why we play shamans, motherfucker.
And it was just a royal pain to find out, oh, you gotta go here, but you gotta do certain things to get it. And then, like, anywhere else I had them were like just like really shit levels compared to the weapon I had. I'm like, oh, screw this.
But
Well, then it's a good thing that in the prior expansion they had implemented transmog.
so let's talk about the big bad from this one. Who was that one, Don?
It was a big bad.
For Miss Pandaria? Yeah, Garrosh fucking Hellscream.
Yeah.
Yay!
I remember because around the time Pandaria came out, you were trying to get me involved on it, trying to get me to check it out and shit, and you kept comparing me to Hellscream.
Hell yeah! I said, if we were in a cosplay, motherfucker, you're Garrosh. And then Garrosh did that shit, and I'm like...
Yeah.
And then the Garrosh... well, that happens in the next expansion. Garrosh, I literally told my Garrosh, I'm like, dude, this is your guy right here. If I was going to be someone in charge who's going to fuck some shit up, that's going to be you. And then the scene from Warlords of Draenor happened, and I'm like, sorry, my bad.
Whoops.
Okay, so maybe not anymore. But that was like I said.
It made for a cool raid, the Siege of Orgrimmar raid.
Oh yeah,
Awesome.
and it's still referenced. It's like, I'm the mastermind between that made Orgrimmar, the impenetrable fortress. Wasn't it raided recently? Oh, one little raid. No one ever let you live it down. Like. Because of Jason's favorite characters, the goblins.
They're not gnomes.
That is true. That is very true.
Absolutely true. So even they're fighting the midget complexes in most of this. So that was.
I'm shorter. No, I am.
Well, that's Mr.
Yeah, I like my Volpera.
That's Mr. Pandaria in a nutshell. Then we go to like what seems to feel like the shortest expansion for like content.
Not just seems like
It is, but I'm saying like it feels like, but what they added to it made it long, made you have to play it longer, which was Warlords of Draenor. Now this is where I hop back in. You were talking about your own private little garden back in Mists. That's where they came up with the idea for the garrisons in Warlords of Draenor, and I was like, oh, I got my own fucking homestead. This is pretty badass. I ain't even mad. I'm eating Thrall's pops. I'm running around with Thrall this whole time. Shit, dude, I ain't even mad at this point. Like, I'm enjoying this. But that's me.
System.
It was
a fun system to have your own little plot of the world that was for you. Had things that you can do to progress it independently of what other people were doing.
And then
if you're an alt player, it's a little tedious to have to redo that 12 times.
But that being said, they added something that will either be known as like one of the good things that they added or one of the most annoying fucking things that they've added, which is rep grind and achievements for flying. Why is it bad? I fucking hated grinding daily, and I still do. I'm not a fan of that.
I currently hate it.
Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead, Jason.
I still don't have Draenor flying. It's the only fucking place I don't have it.
Same. I would say the same thing.
Same.
I do not have Draenor. None of us do.
I do. I have Draenor flying.
Okay.
I have Draenor flying.
Aren't you Mr. Special?
Well, it took me fucking forever and pissed me off. And I'm like, I'm just going to get it because then I realized, and this is where it made it great, was once you did it once, it's account wide. So when I'm like, oh, I need to level an alt through here, I get to fly everywhere to get where I need to go. So it being account wide, I can see where you really need. So here's what I wish they would have done personally for this, was give you an option. Either make you pay an astronomical amount of gold to get it and make it character based, or keep it the way this way, because I don't know what I would have done. Because that drove me nuts. And then when I found out that in Legion and Battle of Azeroth, or in Battle of Azeroth, we had to do it again, I cried a little bit on the inside. I died. I'm like, God, I fucking hate this part. Now, but back on Warlords, it was really cool to go back in time and meet some of these people that some of the newer players never got a chance to do. So
like they're only mentioned in
lore,
like a little bit in Warcraft 1, 2, and a few of them 3.
Well, when you hear Thrall talking to Garrosh all the time, talking about his father Grom, like, the reason you're here is because your dad is probably one of the most people I respect the most out of everybody, yada yada, and like you finally meet Gromash, and that Warlords of Draenor intro, holy shit! Like, let's not even deny that was fun, because oh come on, you went in and you saw all the characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You saw all the baddies that you were going to fight one by one.
They did a nice job with that intro quest. And, you know, say what you will about the story. It's a little, I mean, once you start throwing time travel like that into the mix, and we already had it a bit with the Bronze Dragonflight, but...
Fucking Chromie!
Yeah. To have that intro quest to show you, here's everybody, here's a quick little cinematic of each one, and boom, name on the screen, so that you're getting this introduction, was really cool. I thought that was a lot of fun. I still enjoy going through it on all. Luckily for me, without flying, I can make it through that leveling content in just a couple hours, so I can get in and out of there quick.
And then you get but you get to bring in Gul'dan again, which sets you up for a lot of stuff. Which Gul'dan, fucking warlocks, god damn it. So that was fun. Like, Warlords of Draenor, I didn't do a lot of raiding with, I'll admit.
No, which is a shame, because despite the fact that there weren't that many raids to do, I think there were 2 major raids,
yeah, there were 2.
But they were cool. Like, you get into them, and there's some very unique encounters. Some of the most well-designed fights that I think that you're going to encounter in a lot of the game, and struggling to remember the name of the particular encounter because I don't have the page pulled up. But the train fights, help me out if anyone remembers.
I know which one you're talking about, but I don't know what it was called.
Rock Foundry, I think.
Something like that.
It was in the Foundry. I remember that much. I'm trying to remember the name of the fight, but anyway, I'm looking it up right now. But it added a super cool dynamic to the fight. It was really cinematic, a lot of stuff to look out for. Like, not only are you fighting the boss, you're fighting the environment, and a really, really detailed one too. Foundry was a really cool dungeon to move through, or a really cool raid zone to move through, even just to go back and see it now. And I can only imagine, because I didn't raid it at the time.
That's something I think I'm not lie. That's gonna be something I might go do when I do this like week-long every raid campaign. Jason, I don't know if you're sitting at your desk at this point. That's something I want to stream starting on a Wednesday, or starting on a Tuesday. Every raid on stream of WoW, every single one.
Mythic Nighthole.
Don, we needed you. We really did.
Maybe text me earlier than 11 p.m.
That's bullshit. See, that was a Saturday. We were good to go, buddy. But if we move on from there, like, Legendary are very short, but very fun, very full of lore. I enjoyed it. I did. There was things you could do in your stronghold that felt like very epic. That was just for you. I enjoyed the crap out of that.
2 things that came of it, though, that I think have been a bit of a negative point, and they all started there. One, the mission table. It felt so required at the time, and it would then move. We'd see incarnations of it even still today in Battle for Azeroth. Thankfully, in Battle for Azeroth, it's less required. It's there briefly, but then you can kind of forget about it.
There's only certain ones you need to do, like certain specific ones you need to go through. That's like 2 hours, and that's like a break.
Right, and it also it was the introduction of content that would be deprecated, and I say that specifically the garrisons. Cool idea, right? We had a lot of fun. It was neat to have our own little special place. Come Legion, That's gone. We don't have the garrisons are out there. They don't matter anymore. There's no reason to go back unless you're trying to do old content or get some old transmog gear. And we'll start to see that system going forward where we're going to have an expansion-only game mechanic, something that's going to play into how we craft our own personal story, how we craft our character, how we play the game, that as soon as the expansion afterwards comes, that mechanic's gone. It's out of the game.
We do it a lot coming up, actually, and
it's unfortunate.
And it makes me sad. Right?
Well, it from a design perspective, you have to get rid of this mechanic that players rely. It changed the way you fundamentally play your character, like say the artifact system, which we'll get to in a minute. And then it's gone, and now you have to rebalance classes around not having it. And Jason, you were gonna comment?
No, I was pretty much just nodding in agreement.
Okay.
Yeah, we all were. But so once we get out of Warlords and we move on into Legion, now I am mad at Legion, but I'm happy with Legion because Legion gave me 2 moments that I realized pissed me off. The first moment is when they took away Warlock's Metamorphosis and put it on Demon Hunters.
I knew you were gonna say that.
God, that made me mad.
Oh, you stop bitching about that for a
God
while.
damn it, that made me mad. I was so... Kill Jaden, damn it, that made me mad. Sargeras, I'll use him, he's bigger. But it then gave me one of the funniest damn moments and reaffirmed my hatred for gnomes. Because when you first got in there, you had to, we were talking about like the garrisons. You start up your class hall, and you go to your class hall. Well, warlocks, because I am the residential warlock player, that is what I stuck under, and I enjoy the crap out of it, is underneath Dalaran. And the first like 5 minutes, you're like, we're gonna summon a demon and trap it here, and it's gonna be awesome. We're gonna suck its power. And then a gnome fucks it up for everybody.
Goddamn gnomes.
And I'm like, I was talking, I swear to God, I was talking with everybody on one of our podcasts, and I'm like, you know what, Warlock's get a bad rap. So what? We nearly destroyed Dalaran in the first 5 minutes of Legion. We don't need to hate that, okay? We did it. Oops, my bad.
You didn't destroy it.
We didn't.
So
we figured it out. I killed that guy. I have his heart, and it was pretty cool. Like, I'm telling you right now, I love some of the other class halls, and I'm doing a rogue just to go see its class hall. I mean, because
Yeah, it's alright.
Rogue is a decent one.
that's the one I haven't seen yet, honestly, and I just want to go check it out because it's the only one out of my mind when I think about the classes that it piques my pure curiosity. Because I'm like, what's
I like my Grove.
which one?
My Grove.
Your Grove?
The Druid.
Yeah, the Druid one. Yeah. But I love the hell out of the Warlock one. Holy hell. You looked like you were prepping for war.
Yeah,
Like,
I will say this about the Rogue one: if you liked Skyrim's Thieves Guild, it's a lot like that.
oh, then I'm probably going to be disappointed. Got it. But I had fun in the Warlock one. I had such a good time. I was back there today for shits and giggles because I missed the place.
The Raiders Hall looks like a tavern.
I ended up throwing my guys on a quest for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I think thematically they did a great job with the class order halls. I think my least favorite was the first one I experienced, which was Demon Hunter. I was not super impressed with that one, but it made sense. It was fine. I just didn't think it was as interesting to look at.
It seemed like a rehash of the Death Knight.
with the Death Knight thing, like when they made the Demon Hunter, when they made the Death Knight, my first thought was they're trying to make a shadow damage, like a warlock tank. Then they made Demon Hunter, and I'm like, I feel like you're writing off Death Knights at this point, because I saw less and less Death Knights in Legion than I saw anything else.
Well, yeah, flavor of the month, right? You're gonna have to keep playing the class.
Yeah.
That's the new
But
one.
I still saw everything else. I saw still the same amount of warlocks, which is still very little, priests, warriors, paladins, monks. I saw less Death Knights than I saw any other class when I played Legion. But
Maybe I can speak to that.
well, obviously, let me go ahead.
So as a player that loves to play as a tank, us tanks will try out every other tank because we kind of want to be the best. So whenever there's a new tank to play, most tanks are going to try it out. You look at career tanks players, And I bet all of them, or most of them, have tried them all, and probably have a lot of them at max. So I started playing a Demon Hunter for that reason. I love Death Knights. Don't get me wrong, they're great, and I still enjoy them. And I think I would prefer them in Legion over Demon Hunter tanks. But that was it. That was the reason. We're like, hey, we gotta try out this new one, because if it's better in a raid, this is the one we're gonna play so that our raid can win.
Okay, so really quick, I need to do a rehash because we screwed up because we started talking like players versus something else I wanted to cover, and that's on me. So if we go back to Cataclysm, Deathwing comes up, fucks up the world. Your job's to kill Deathwing. Got it.
Yep.
Mists of Pandaria, Garrosh fucks up. You find a planet. Yeah, you find an island. Everyone goes after it. Garrosh finds out there's a source of power there, takes a heart of it, corrupts the world, and then attempts to become all-powerful and take over things. Once again, Garrosh is bad. Thrall's bad for putting him in charge. Probably a bad move. Not horrible, but probably a bad idea. So your job there is to find Garrosh. You beat... Go on.
In Thrall's defense, he wasn't aware of the power of the Shah.
Of course.
Until we got there, and that's what we learn when we get there, is that this is a very corrupting influence, akin to an old god style influence that someone's going to be susceptible to. And
Sourfang. That should have been it right there. Sourfang. We wouldn't have had Warlords of Draenor. We would have been fine.
Yeah, that's that began the domino effect of the downfall of having every war chief just suck or go away so much.
And this is something that we were talking about earlier while you had stepped away, was literally, let's talk about every big bad of every fucking expansion, and let's talk about how the Horde is it. So...
I mean, Vol'jin was pretty good.
Yes.
Granted, he had like 3 or 4 days to be in charge, but
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah. So if we go back to Mists, Garrosh fucks it up. Now we go into Warlords of Draenor. Now, we didn't talk about why we went into the past. I can't remember why we went there, but I know Garrosh...
This was actually explained in the novel War Crimes.
Garrosh was thrown into the past because he was literally... They were going to execute him. Actually, Thrall was going to do it first, and then Varian Wrynn steps in and stops him. And there was a big argument on who should take care of it. The Pandaren stepped in and went, fuck both of you. He hurt us the most. We're taking him.
Didn't one of the Windrunner sisters want to kill him really badly too?
Everyone wanted to kill Garrosh. Everyone wanted to kill Garrosh. So they threw him into the past. Why? Because that seems like a good plan. Go meet your dad. What could
essentially they wanted the Bronze Dragons, and Rathian wanted to bring the Horde from an alternate reality to come fight for them.
Fucking Rathian.
Against the Legion that was going to come. And they thought, hey, let's send Garrosh back there to try to bring them to this world. Apparently that backfired big time, as Kaimos Domu, who went with Garrosh in the alternate reality, was killed by Garrosh, and he then influenced Romash in what they were going to be.
Hey, Daddy.
Dan was offering, and said, don't do this, don't call for his temptations of power, since this will lead you down the path of damnation.
Awesome fucking cinematic, by the way. Loved every minute of that. Watching Garrosh hand Gore Howl to his dad was awesome. I'm not even gonna lie. I have yet to find a bad cinematic, honestly. I love them because they tell not only are they visually gripping, they tell such great stories. And that happened. So we had to go beat Gromash, or Gromash, but then he joins us. We got to meet Garrosh, who's not even like the big bad in the whole thing, which turns out to be, god damn it, Gul'dan. Fucking warlocks.
He was the instigator of everything.
Technically, from this expansion he was. And you saved him, too. In the first 5 minutes of that expansion, you saved him. Instead of killing him, we saved him. And then he ends up meeting Archimond, becoming best buds. We're cool. Sargeras, we're good. And which you know what? I think the problem with most warlocks, you aim too high. Don't go so high with your thought processes. Find someone low that can generate enough power that you need, and you're good to go, man.
They didn't accept the demon blood, and they killed Mataroth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. Don't worry. I got a plan B. It's gonna work out great. Then I'll summon you here to Draenor. It's gonna be cool.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't end well. So you beat Archimond, and then Archimond sends Gul'dan back through the portal. It's like, God,
to our reality.
Which apparently we didn't stop Gul'dan from opening a fucking another dark portal, which
That was also explained in when they uploaded the audio chapters on their YouTube page of how Gul'dan came to our reality and opened the portal, which leads into Legion.
Screw that crap. That motherfucker needed a builder's permit for that shit, okay? So, and he did not get that shit signed off. That's his fault, okay? And now we're in Legion, which its opening cinematic is beautiful because you got the Horde and the Alliance working together.
It's essentially WoW D-Day.
And we're like, this is great. And then you can literally, I think what's so cool, and I think Chris did not get a chance to experience this, was on one platform, you have literally all the Horde player characters. On the other, you got all the Alliance player characters, and you're both beating up the same thing, jockeying for like some position in this. Like, who's got the bigger balls in this scenario?
You're both going. You have the same final target, obviously. As
yes, I'm talking about like just being smart. Like Tyrion Forging dies in the beginning of this, which sucks.
Who wants to claim for the kill? I do. No, I do.
Yeah. You're knocking off big lore characters in that cinematic in that intro area alone.
Yeah.
Vol'jin also. Varian Rin
also. Which oh, that motherfucker, Varian Rin. We'll get on him later.
But the coolest thing I think about that intro, the intro cinematic into the intro quest that you play as.
Is the view.
You do run through. Well, so if you play it on a Horde character, you get to see what happens there. When you finally make that assault, it's assault version 2 after the first one fails, and after Vol'jin has died, transfers control of the Horde over to Sylvanas, who leads the next assault as your player character enters, and you get to see that they're getting overwhelmed, and Sylvanas calls the retreat. From the Alliance side, you just see the Horde leaving as if they're leaving the Alliance to their death, and it sows a lot of discord between the factions. And you as an Alliance player, you go into this thinking, we just got betrayed. We just got led to our deaths by the Horde. You play the Horde side, and you realize, no, they didn't leave so that they could let the Alliance die. They left because they were going to die themselves. Very cool way for players to experience that. Yeah,
which is really cool because it's like, you at that point, it's a misunderstanding, and neither side is going to talk about this. Neither side is going to sit down, have a conversation. It's never really addressed between the two sides at any point. But like,
I think part of that too is you could talk about that all you want between the leaders, but what are the Alliance going to hear? They're going to hear the Horde saying that, oh, we had to retreat, and what are they going to think? No, you probably didn't. Maybe you just wanted to save yourself. It's all going
to be a fight.
Are they even going to believe
it?
It's
all just a build up for the next.
Which is where this is where we get the change of leaders. Now, we get Sylvanas Windrunner to take over the Horde. Probably Vol'jin's greatest mistake. Now, I don't remember what the hell Vol'jin whispered to her. I don't remember what that was. I don't think we ever get like the actual part in there. Like, okay, and this, by the way, me saying it's his greatest mistake is coming from a sitting right here, I've played, I've seen perspective. Okay, that's that.
Well, and at the time,
it looked beautiful.
Had said it was the Loa that had spoken to him. Probably Bom Sandi. It's not. I don't think it's ever made clear who spoke to him and told him.
If I had to guess, it'd be Bom Sandi.
It's not until later when we find out.
Yeah, so we will find out later that there was a reason behind why he did it. And
do you know now, Grant?
Are we allowed to go into spoiler territory since this is alpha information for Shadowlands?
Let's hold off on the Shadowlands info till we get there. But
got it.
Those listening, you kind of have an idea, especially if you've been following what's coming out of where we're going to go with this. But something told him and he interpreted as being the Loa speaking to him, his gods, telling him this is what you need to do. And as players, we're like, why? What? This doesn't make any sense. And then we'll see later that it probably might have been a bad idea. So we have to just kind of hold on and think, well, was he misled? Was it the old gods speaking to him and corrupting him? We don't know. But all we know is something told him this needed to be done, and this is the way it had to be.
But going into BFA, watching that cinematic for BFA, you think he made the best choice ever.
Oh man.
God, dude, you were
Oh my.
all the way.
Oh my
God.
God.
Cheer when you saw that Banshee form come out.
For the horn! And then you see Sarfang. Yeah! Sarfang got a hard on right there. He's like, hell yeah. Oh my God. Like,
the Khan Zappy Boy just blasting people.
Zappy Boy.
Well, here's the thing.
Go ahead, Jason.
Here's the thing about that. Yes, the cinematic, you're just like rock hard about that. But then when you like actually play what you're doing, you're just like,
Oh, we were getting there.
Well, so before we get too far off of Legion.
Yeah, let me get back in the Legion here because we can go to BFA. My first thought was honestly, when Vol'jin was gonna like name a war chief, my first thought was it's gonna be Bane Bloodhoof.
Yeah.
That's who you believe at that very second, for the people standing in that room, was either going to be Saurfang or Bane Bloodhoof. Because Saurfang, even though he wasn't a major character, had been there for everything that you've done up until this point. Even in Northrend, like as a player, for players never played like the first couple of games, but played like these expansions, Saurfang had been there. I'm talking about everywhere. Go back and think about it in your head where that man you've seen him. Like, even as kid, man, like, you've been everywhere. Like, it's been great with him. But when you get into Legion, where you have to, like, unlock Legion flying, I know.
But story-wise, again, awesome content. The story team does a great job integrating a lot.
Who's the big bad in this one, Don? Goddamn Warlock. Motherfucker. God.
Wasn't, though.
Warlocks can't catch a break.
Okay, hold on.
We take care of Gul'dan in Nighthold.
Yeah, which is like I think 8.1, something like that.
It's the second content. Oh, it's the first major content patch. It's the second raid.
It's something like that. He's somewhere up there, but he was the one that like you look at, but it's still a demon. Like it's still like you're still pulling a demon. I'm like, God damn it.
The quest content and story content leading up to that was fantastic. Suramar City, seeing that from above briefly in the beginning and then going back 10 levels later and getting to experience a living, breathing, massive city.
Allied races.
The allied races were outstanding. It was a great addition to the game. I think
the introduction of the older sister of the Windrunners.
Yeah. Illyria and Turalian.
I will say right here, for me as a Horde player, my only Alliance race that I enjoy is Draenei. So seeing Lightforged Draenei, and I'm like, that's a paladin. I don't know what else you're gonna play as that thing. Maybe a priest, but that's all as far as you're gonna get. But like seeing like the Lightforged Draenei, the rep runs, the different zones you had to bounce through to do everything. The introduction of world quests were so good.
Yeah, and then really just building off of, not only do we have the Broken Isles to start with, and the very unique and very fun zones, having gone through them again recently myself, they're tremendously well designed.
And then you get the new leader of the Alliance, who I didn't bring up, which is Anduin Wrynn.
Yeah.
You get the baby face, which tells you right there, like, wow, we can't even get a good like line of succession here. It's going to be a human. It's never, because my first thought was, if you're going to leave somebody in charge, somebody with experience, I thought it was going to be Greymane. I was hoping that they would change something and make it Greymane. Like, because Greymane's insane. Guy's great. He's got the battle tactics. He's got the leadership ability. But you're going to put the he wasn't even a pirate at the time. But like but you take instead you take the priest wanna go paladin and Anduin Wrynn.
Well, I can understand. Well,
I understand, yeah. That's where I don't like the Alliance, is the fact that they still go King's bloodline.
Well, not only that, but Stormwind being the major seat of power for the Alliance. You have, again, Greymane controls a relatively small kingdom in the grand scheme of the Alliance. You've got the Night Elf leaders who were never meant really to. They're meant to take care of more important matters than political leadership.
Oh, hold on. First off, let's shoot off that whole like land area problem, where the main seat of power is Orgrimmar, and we put a troll and a freaking banshee in charge, who are from neither area.
Well, but that's the Horde.
That's what I'm saying. That's why But that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's why people enjoy the Horde just that much more.
Well, the Horde are led by the war chief that it unites the factions that run very much. They are semi-autonomous when it comes to being a part of the Horde. It's a collection of alliances that together, these different factions that unite under a similar banner, but do kind of run themselves independently of the overall politics for the most, except for major story elements. That's the idea. Whereas the Alliance, they are very much, if you're part of this, here is the hierarchy that you're going to follow.
And that's what I feel sad for the Alliance for, honestly. Like, you look at them and they're like, you're screwed. Like, if you're a gnome, don't ever aspire to be in power. You're pretty much done. Dwarf, you're not gonna run the Alliance anytime soon. But in the Horde,
they had their chance.
In the Horde, if you're strong enough and you're smart enough, you have an opportunity. You have a chance.
Yeah, what the Alliance have done a better job in recent years of incorporating their different races and kingdoms into leadership positions. You have these leaders from each one, and you've got High Tinker Mechatork that is leading. He is a gnome who is a leader of his people.
Oh, because you have those people that are leader people, but don't ever aspire to be in charge of everything. That's my thing.
I mean, look at Magni. He just said, fuck this, I'm just gonna help everybody in the fucking...
Oh, Magni, yeah, but Magni got lucky. Like, Magni, like, oh shit, but we haven't gotten BFA yet, so...
Yeah, he's also kind of been returned to a different form than what,
I mean, that kind of started in Legion, though.
It started well
before Legion.
But when Magni actually turned into Crystal, that was right before Cataclysm, and that was actually explained in the book The Shattering, I believe.
That's why I brought Grant.
Not until
he read the books.
He's book smart.
But let's go into Legion really quick. So we get to the point where everyone's now bringing in the Demon Hunters because they realize that they're the ones that are going to lead us out of this problem. We don't hate Illidan anymore because
he's back.
He's going to be who we need. Because if we don't fucking do this, Illidan was right. But Cineris is already dead, so it doesn't really matter.
Nobody wants Illidan to be right.
Cineris is like, over my cold, dead body will he be right, and Cineris is dead.
Yeah.
Malfurion, excuse me.
That quest line.
Yeah, Malfurion is...
Not to mention, Illidan shatters a Naru.
Yeah, Illidan don't fuck around.
Pretty much saying, no, you gotta do this. No. You gotta do this. No. You have to do Destiny. No means no.
Illidan's a beast. Illidan's a motherfucking man. So you go in there and you find out Sargeras is running everything. He's one of like the big titans up there in that little divine council that is whatever the fuck that council was.
The Seed of the Pantheon.
That was it. Seed of the Pantheon. And that raid was fun. That raid was entertaining.
Yeah, well, even leading up to that, we go to another planet. We go to Argus and see. This is a world where
the Lightforged Draenei.
Yeah, it's
that's where the Draenei came from as a whole. Back then, they were known as the Eredar, but when they went into exile after the Legion consumed Argus, that's when they became known as the Draenei, or the Exiled Ones.
Yeah, and we get to fight a keeper of a world's soul, essentially. We get to fight Argus.
That is correct, Dungeon Master. They do have so much more lore, and I've been really debating on getting those myself just to read them. Thank you for that comment from Twitch chat. Keep going. But, I mean, so we get there, we go to Argus, we get to have so many more world quests. That's where the rep grind begins to be able to start really getting... you start people like the High Torn, the Void Elves, the frickin' that's all. Is that? I'm not that.
Yeah, you got the the High Mountain Tauren.
Yeah.
You've got the Nightborn.
Oh no, that's
Yeah.
BFA. That's BFA. That's BFA. Excuse me.
No.
No.
No, it's like-
Nightborn. So High Mountain Tauren and Nightborn for
Yep.
Horde.
Yeah.
So Nightborn
Oh, that
coming
was
from Suramar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Lightforged Draenei and the Void Elves.
Which pissed me off. I wanted the Void Elves. God damn it.
Yeah, I saw that. But it makes sense though.
I know why it makes sense. I know why it makes sense. But I wanted them.
Yeah,
Where's
they're-
the,
they're- they are
Magar?
cool looking.
What's up?
The Magar orcs.
Magar come in and
the
battle
BFA. They come into BFA.
Yeah.
So
And also, let's not forget the major lore components that players really got to get their hands on in BFA.
haven't got to BFA yet.
Sorry, in Legion.
We keep fiddling there.
Yeah, the major element that players got their hands on in Legion, the artifacts.
Oh god, I hated that because mainly when they started rearranging everything, because I run a hunter class mostly. Yeah, nice.
I got this. I didn't care about anything else. I got this.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead.
They took away my ability for Rain of Arrows to be like its actual own ability, and I can cast it whenever the fuck I want. Instead, they utilized it to be like for auto attacks. So if I'm auto attacking somebody, it's gonna rain arrows on them also. Like, oh, that's just dumb. I don't want that.
I mean that.
Yeah.
Whole giant area.
Yeah,
Like
but
it used to be.
the quest lines involved in unlocking the different artifacts, especially for some classes that have these iconic weapons, like
Yep.
let's take one of the most iconic legendary weapons from history, and so we've got the Doomhammer, which we know has been used by a major character who gives it to a shaman. This is for you now. But
It's felt.
the other one,
His exact words were, "Since I killed Garrosh, it has felt like dead weight in my hands.
Yes.
It has gotten heavier and heavier. You take it." And that's when he backed away from the elements.
but
God, that scene.
we also for Paladin players.
Yes.
Finally get your hands on an Ashbringer, which is a super cool weapon. It had a great artifact ability, Wake of Ashes, super fun to use. That weapon, seeing that weapon wielded by if you played a Paladin, to be able to hold that thing after knowing since the game launched, there were rumblings of this weapon, and players have tried year over year to try and get their hands on it. And at best, you got a corrupted version of it that wasn't even that good. But now here it is. You've got the Ashbringer, and every class getting something cool. Druids getting awesome looking new forms.
But let's talk about Warlocks for a minute. We're the ones that got to do something that was super fun, and that was piss off Gul'dan.
Yeah.
To get the Scepter of Sargeras from Gul'dan, I'm like, oh wow, I'm looking at a raid boss right now. And then I betray him, and I take it and I bounce. I'm like, well, that seems about right.
Yeah.
I mean, that was fun. That was entertaining.
Every class had gotten something cool, and then on top of that, to be able to unlock the different artifact appearances through some very monumental gameplay. Some of them being a little easy, you'd get through your main quest stuff. But when we get to I think it was 7-3, when we get the Mage Tower, and some of the most difficult solo content, depending on your class, to unlock this very epic looking skin for your weapon that will really show off to people that, hey, I know my class. Particularly if you got it earlier in the expansion as opposed to later in the expansion. But like, I am a pro at this content. I know what to do. Here's my proof right here in my hand. That, I think, was for me at least, for the ones that I was able to finish off, was a huge accomplishment.
I will say that like fucking what was it, like keeping them as transmog is what makes me the happiest, because because you do lose them, but my shaman getting to run around with Doomhammer still makes me the happiest.
I don't think my shaman ever walks around without Doomhammer.
Oh, I'll pick up a new axe and I'll run it back and I'll freaking transmag it.
Yeah.
Mine's not using it.
Mine
are fist weapons.
Yeah.
Mine were still fist weapons, and I can still transmog it into freaking Doomhammer.
Yeah. My
No, I
Guardian Druid
transmogged
tends
it
to
into
use-
it.
I tend to use the Mage Tower skin, the Werebear skin
I
for
will.
my Guardian Druid.
I will make
That
something.
was It's the most difficult I've ever encountered.
I will say right here, Grant, which makes me funny here, if you could not have joined us tonight, or Jason, the person that's talking to me in Twitch chat right now is my friend Kong, and he would have been the next guy I wanted. Because he's the only person that still refers to me as Thrall's given name. He does. It's so great. He would have been the next guy. He was on my list.
I mean,
All right, I see.
you could have just also joined.
I'd like it with 5. But Legion, very fun. They're entertaining. Some good, memorable moments. Prepped us great for Battle for Azeroth. Now, let's get into BFA. Because this is where Chris got his footing. This is where 4 of us in here, Grant, sorry, streamed the launch. And
that was fun.
Oh my god, we're doing it again. We're doing it again. If you want to join us, Grant, please, 5-person group running through it. I'll be more than happy. We had such a good time.
Then we better be doing mythics if it's all 5.
Oh no, yeah, but we need, we will as soon as we got to get past the freaking opening, and when we max level, we will. But I'm saying that right now, that cinematic. I still get chills watching that cinematic, just thinking about Sylvanas watching, and this is where you really want to side with her at the beginning, because Sylvanas has been made war chief, and Lordaeron is getting decimated at this point, because baby King Anduin is hanging out with Greymane, and she's getting pummeled, and she realizes she needs to turn the tide right now. Jumps herself off of a defensive position onto a parapet, and just destroys this arrow tower as a banshee. Lands, smoke everywhere, screams at the greatest voice, "For the Horde!" and it echoes just beautifully. And like I said, you saw Sourfang just get rock hard. He's like, that's my war chief. When Sourfang was sold, that's when I was sold. I'm like, she's doing it. He picked up that flag, axe in one hand, flag in the other, and just ran down people left and right. The Tauren came out from behind the thing, barreling over people. Zappy Boy gets his moment and just zaps people, and it was great. And and even
Sylvanas was pretty much a hype man.
Oh my god! And then fucking Anduin, and at that point you're like, oh my god,
he hacks PvP rules and mass res in combat.
And then he max reses in combat, and you're like, here's the thing. I have mass respect for Varian. Yeah. Okay, Varian Wrynn was, and I'll get into our favorite character, is my favorite Alliance character, bar none. Next to I can't remember his name, Exodar. I can't remember his name. The High Patriarch of the Draenei, who I enjoy the crap out of him. I can't remember his name. Velen, thank you. I loved Velen. All the things that Velen did, sacrifices, bar none, just holding his people together. Varian Wrynn. When Anduin was standing there and he realized he's holding his dad's sword and just drops it, raises his hand to the sky, calls down the power of the gods, mass reses and heals everybody, picks it up and screams, "Stand together for the Alliance!" I'm like, God damn, we gotta fight. And then you get that
during that whole Saving Private Ryan moment where everything slows down and it's just all quiet.
Oh, at the end. Oh, you got everything back onto a steady playing field, and you get that last moment where it's literally an orc jumping at a human, and it brings you back to Warcraft 1. The base version, that's what they were aiming for, was we're going to take this back to the opening. We're going to do it. Oh my god, Dan's response was, that was the Horde's fault for not targeting the healer first. I love Kong. He's one of my favorite people. But that moment, I still show people that right there. I'm like, if you don't get chills, just watching those leaders. But my favorite moment was Greymane, the godfather of Anduin. As soon as he heals, everybody's like, yeah, that's my boy. Good job. You know what I mean?
But after that cinematic and there
we go.
You find out that I'm not gonna say she's Hitler, but she's Hitler.
No, don't you dare insult Hitler like that, okay? Sorry.
She literally had to set a button when they got in the right spot to set off the bomb.
Timeout. She burned her own homeland. Timeout. The Russians do that all the time. Okay, so it wasn't so bad. But like we're watching, and we're like, God damn. And then me and Jason are watching this together, and we're like, this is pretty bad. And then she burnt Tendrasil, and we're both looking at each other going, it's not really a bad battle plan when you put it into perspective.
As someone who,
that big ass tree?
Yeah.
Yep.
as someone who mains a druid, that was pretty rough for me.
But we still defended it for like a day, for like a week. We're like, this isn't so bad, is it?
I remember that.
Hell, in the beginning, some of the
Go on,
druids
Chris.
didn't even want that tree in the first place.
Grant,
And
Chris?
After we saw the cinematic and we were like done for a moment, Bruce was like, "So how do you feel?" Like, I don't know. I don't know what I just witnessed. I witnessed a great battle that turned into like. Was that really necessary?
I'm a warlock player, so I was like 50-50 drawn on that one. So I'm like, that wasn't so bad.
It was like
I
watching
understand
Dresden burn.
showing your power, but then there's like a line you shouldn't cross, and I think that line might have been crossed.
Well, here's the thing. They were trying to destroy Lordaeron, so she did the same thing to them. I'm not so mad about it. It's like, oh,
She
God.
struck first.
She did. In battle strategy, she did everything absolutely right. Horde strategy.
Yet, all of this started back when, let's see, who was it? Sargeras stabbed a planet and made Azerite appear, which became the ultimate resource that both factions want to get their hands on.
Yeah, let's not
And the
forget
reason why the Night Elves why the Horde went after the Night Elves at first was try to keep a secure supply line for those minerals to become to the Horde's power.
I'm just saying, like, I wasn't really mad about that at first. I'm just like,
We just weren't expecting.
it was out of left field for me. But then you start
Like
listening.
strategy, okay, it was good. Burning the Teldrassil, that might have been.
I mean, like
that
you.
stylistic though, that stylistic like animatic style that they had for that cinematic, that cutscene. Between that and the other ones they did too, the one for Jaina.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a minute. It's beautifully done. The art team.
Yeah, it was.
It's a phenomenal job again.
Everything they did was like in Battle for Azeroth. As we like get to the end, and
It's like, yeah.
we'll talk about like Battle for Azeroth added back the fucking achievement flying. God damn it, that hurt. That hurt again. I got it today. Okay, only reason I got it today was the reputation buff. I'm so happy about that. I cried a little bit on the inside.
Mechadar rep takes a while.
Yeah!
He's like, the grind is over.
I was literally like, fuck, the grind's over. Get me Vial of the Sands and I'll fucking fly you anywhere so you don't have to do this shit. There's only one of us has to do it. But the BFA raids, I'm still in the middle of them. I am. Don, do you want to take us through, like, so we got BFA, right? So we got the big fight happening.
I have access to raids.
Yeah, you have some. You had 3. We got you to the 4th one, which makes me happy. Crucible of Storms, which I still have to do because I don't have to do it, but I want to. I want to see what the story's like. So we ended up getting to the. You had the beginning. You had the fights. You had her pretty much just nuke, freaking ground zero, Lordaeron. So we're pretty much done with the. If you want to go back there now, it's pretty much impossible unless you turn the time back to go to the Undercity, which was a pretty cool place to hang out. Honestly, it was really fun to watch get raided a bunch of times too. Like, wow, fuck, man, you guys are ballsy. Like,
Yeah, well, there was a sewer entrance, so it was
Yeah.
a little bit faster.
Yeah, but it was fun. Like, and, you just went and killed them, and it was just a good time. So we had that, and then let's go on to the part where so Saurfang pretty much turns his back on the Horde, the current Horde, because he believes this is not his Horde, and I agree. Hashtag not my. I even made a post not too long ago. It just came up actually 2 days ago, a year. 2 days ago, a year was I said hashtag not my war chief. I made that joke. I put that up there. Only a couple people remember it. It was fun. And then I did that, and then Sourfang. You started a storyline with Sourfang. You could either take Sourfang's side or you could take Sylvanas' side, and that was up to you. And I was Sourfang's side the whole way through. I may be like an asshole, but like very honorable when it comes to people. So I agreed with what he was doing. He believed in honorable warfare. Honor doesn't necessarily mean the winning side. It just means you can sleep at night when you're done, if you're alive. So, don't forget, Sylvanas plague bombed the undead human armistice and kicked off the official Fourth War. That is correct, Dan. That's pretty much what we were talking about. That's pretty much what we meant.
Well, and that takes place before the events that happen at
in the Before the Storm novel.
Yes. So we get onto Battle Azeroth. We end up people duking it out. They're all fighting. There's now dissent through the ranks. Rexar ends up killing Derek Proudmoore. It gets crazy because they're like, a lot of people are still fighting with honor. I'm not gonna lie, people are still fighting with honor out there, but there's some people that are doing some things. Once he kills Derek Proudmoore, you have to go get his body, and she wants to res it, make him a sleeper agent. It gets weird, and this is where Bane Bloodhoof like turns into like, I can't be part of this.
Yeah, there's a line where you just do not cross.
Now we're gonna talk about
and during this whole time, we get what is quite possibly, at least up until this point, the greatest cinematic that's existed in World of Warcraft, Old Soldier.
Oh my god, Old Soldier. Zappy Boy fucking killed it.
Yes.
Oh, that was great. If you haven't had a chance, go look it up. It literally...
if you're a fan, some of the greatest 6 minutes of Warcraft you'll ever experience.
I found, as soon as I saw a post, I sent it to Jason. I'm like, this is fucking amazing. I sent it to Grant. I sent it to a whole bunch of people. I'm like, this is great.
Easily watched it a dozen times. I mean, that is, and they knew that one was so good that they just ramped up the quality of not just the writing, not just the acting, but the visuals. So good.
But here's the thing. So Thrall had left after he could never control Doomhammer again. He bounced. He's like, I'm done with this. I'm no longer a war chief. The elements are in balance. The cataclysm's done. I'm no longer technically a shaman. I feel like I don't know what he is now. We'll find out later, but he left.
He's an outcast.
He just left.
Speculation, new aspect of the Earth.
Maybe. He rolled in. So Sourfang's like, I need to find Thrall. He's the last person I can talk to right now. So he goes and he finds Thrall. And when he finds Thrall, Thrall has got his wife. He's got his kids. He's got a little like location out in Outland that he wants to stay in. That was their location before they moved there, and he was happy with it. And then 2 undead rogues attack to kill them. And one of the most badass Sourfang moments of all time happens when he catches an invisible one and just snaps his neck. While it's invisible, just one hand, just click, we're done. Just drops him down. Like it's nothing. And Thrall gets pissed. He's like, you led them here? And he goes, I followed them here. And that's when Thrall kicks. He's like, you people like... Sourfang looks at him and goes, people like you and me, we don't get to hide. And he kicks over this anvil, pulls out an axe, throws it on his shoulder, and he's like, fuck it, let's go. First blood was thrown against me. I'm going after him now. And that's where we get him back into play in the picture. He doesn't play a huge role, but only in cinematics. But it was still... It's pretty
I think it was
great.
Sourfang and Thrall that tried to break Bane out of prison alongside with Jaina and
Shaw.
Yep, Shaw. I had a brain fart there for a second.
I just did that recently.
Matthias Shaw, I believe.
Matthias. It was not. It wasn't Derek Shaw. Derek Shaw is from Fast and the Furious. So that's Deckard. My bad. Damn it. I had a good joke there. So he pulls out that, and they go break up Bane because Bane gave back Derek Proudmoore to Jaina. So they went and break him out, which is a really fun little thing because you get more Sun Reavers, who are like the offset of the Sindori. Like they're the they're the Crusader versions of the Sindori. And like that's a cool storyline that happens. That's why we can go into more detail because this is all fresh in our minds. But the Horde Alliance. Let's move on to like the next raid because the next Horde Alliance fighting in the ocean. Nazatar opens up, and we're now underwater. I'll actually just finish that out really quick. So we don't know who's going to run the Horde anymore because Sourfang actually fights Sylvanas. And he convinces Sylvanas, he tricks her into saying the Horde is weak, the Horde is nothing, and she runs off. Boom. She's gone. It's one of the most touching
that look
scenes.
on the soldiers too when she says that, you can see some of them are like, did that really just happen?
Oh, fuck.
They have this fuddled look on themselves.
Even the Forsaken were like, wow, hashtag not our war
This
chief.
is how you really feel? Wow.
And then, like, one of the greatest moments you've ever seen is, like, what are we doing? We're taking them home. Thrall picks him up, puts him on his shoulder. You get Anduin at the leg. You get Zappy Boy on the other shoulder. And they walk him into Orgrimmar, and all they do is look at the guard. The guard taps down the stick twice. The door opens. More people tap down the sticks. The doors open all the way, and they get to walk. A human, non-violently, got to walk into Orgrimmar. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was... I'd seen the cinematic before I did it, but it still grabbed me the second time I watched it. Like, even Kayla watched it with me, and she's just sitting here like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, it's amazing. It was...
And yet, from Sylvanas' perspective, you have to look back in the lore, especially since she technically has died three times throughout the lore. First one was when she got turned to a banshee. Second was when she hurled herself off Icecrown Citadel after the death of Arthas. And the third one was when she was supposedly assassinated while assaulting Greymane Wall during the Silverpine Forest questline.
Yeah, but when you command Valkyries, you're pretty well okay.
There's nothing after death, and she's like, if I'm able to avoid this as best I can, we be in the clear.
Well, that therein begins the theory of how she got her power.
Right, and we'll seed that way into Shadowland speculation in a minute.
But
it's like even after that cinematic when Saurfang faced Sylvanas, when you talk to magic casters after that cinematic, none of them can confirm what type of magic Sylvanas used during that fight.
I remember that story.
It was something they've never seen before.
Yep, but then once again, like you're talking about Sylvanas coming back, when you got the Valkyries on your side, you're pretty well good.
But even that's a limited resource.
Of course.
Very clear.
It is a limited resource, but that's how she's come back twice so far.
Yeah.
Especially when Tyrande kills one.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, the Valkyries can raise certain people fine. They can raise people as Forsaken, and that's part of the necromantic magic that Sylvanas has that they kind of build off of. But they can sacrifice themselves to revive Sylvanas. But that kills one of them permanently. So I believe it was 3 that she had at her command, and we've had 2 get taken out.
We have
one to revive her and one that was killed.
She might have more. We don't know because she pulled a lot from. She might have gotten more. We don't know at this point. It's a very big speculation on how many she actually has.
She tried in Legion to enslave the
I remember that one.
Valkyr before Greymane sabotaged that plan. So
do I remember that.
She had a chance for unlimited Valkyries at her disposal when Greymane took it away.
Yeah.
So she might have gotten more in the long run. We'll see. But she doesn't have unlimited, so we'll see.
Nope.
So then we get Najatar, where we bring in Nazoth. He's back again. Like, you get to hear more about him. Which is one of the old gods that has corrupted people in the past, such as Nefarian, putting him in the Deathwing. That's why we get the problem with Rathian being part of any of this. Is the fact that his dad, like good things happen to people. So the Black Dragonflight is, I feel bad for them. They have bad, like, I don't know. It's really bad for them because you have people like Deathwing that's been part of your clique. You know what I mean? So, with that, we'll go on and like you killed Nazoth. I haven't seen the ending of that yet. I'm working on it. You pretty much shoot a laser and kill N'Zoth, is what my understanding is.
Yeah.
That's about it right there. Cool.
Yeah,
Deus Ex Machina.
Very cool place to visit Nyalotha, the Waking City, especially if you're a fan of Cthulhu mythos.
Oh yeah.
It's very beautiful zone, very fun fights.
All right. So we go into what's happening next. At the end of the Lich King, which we didn't bring up, was Balfour Four Dragon. I can't remember if I'm saying his. I messed up his name. Who was it? Tyrion's brother.
It's tipped my tongue right now. Bolvar.
Four Dragon. Chris saw the cinematic recently.
Yeah.
Because we did ICC together, so I could show him how great that looked.
I got the Kingslayer title.
25-man heroic with 2 people.
Yep.
So we ended up going to do that, and he becomes the Lich King because the Lich King commands the Scourge, and you got to keep the Scourge in check. So there has to be a Lich King.
There always has to be a Lich King.
Correct.
Yes.
So as long as the Lich King doesn't have Frostmourne, they're okay with when it comes to being able to keep in control.
Yeah. Well, and this is, again, I think a little speculative, but one thing we'll see, because we're going to discuss it in a minute, is it's not necessarily you need a Lich King, you just need someone to control the helmet.
Correct, but the helmet is the essence of the Lich King.
Right.
So,
Which
is now...
So continue what you were going to say now that we've...
So Sylvanas pretty much gets pissed off, and she goes up into ICC. And pretty...
you mentioned her little quote before she bailed.
Which one was it?
That how she just said, the Horde is weak, I don't need it, this war anymore. She got what she wanted.
Yeah.
If you could see yourselves as I see you.
Exactly.
Toy soldiers in tin plate. Beasts who howl for honor. Standing as one. Savor it. Nothing lasts.
And then she bounced. This is why I called Grant. By the way, if anyone wants to know why I called Grant, this is why I called Grant.
Ultimately, it's like she believes no matter what happens, in the end, you'll all become the Forsaken.
In the long run, she looked at the Horde as a means to an end.
So we've set the stage. Sylvanas has made her declaration to all the people and makes her way to Icecrown Citadel for a very specific purpose.
To fight Bolvar Four Dragon, who at the end of the Lich King took over because the Dragon Flames had fucked him up, and the only way he was going to actually be able to survive was to become the Lich King. So he takes that power, and he goes get some equipment upgrades apparently at some point. I did not see. I know what had happened. I had not seen it personally. Gets a nice.
I feel like he just looted Arthas's body.
Did not. He's got a hammer. He's got some cool shit.
The hammer.
He's got some cool shit. You know what I'm saying? He got some good shit. Got a hammer, got some armor. Went to fight her. Was a really good fight at the beginning. I wish the fight would have lasted a little bit longer.
Well, I think what was really cool about that cinematic and the fight is you get to see the power of the Lich King. The abilities that are used during the Lich King fight back in Wrath of the Lich King expansion, you see him use. You see him use the Winter Summon.
Someone just said, Dan just said, Sylvanas, I'm taking my toys and I'm going home. Windrunner.
Kind of.
But he starts using some of the spells. I think he didn't have the combat experience that Arthas would have had. Arthas would have fared a lot better against Sylvanas.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's you. As we said before, he's fighting a magic that is otherworldly.
Yeah.
So,
but it's still Bolvar, who was a paladin. I think, but so was Arthas. But I think Arthas had more time with the power. He would have had more power.
I don't think anything would have changed. Truth be told.
I think the fight would have been closer.
Yeah, but so obviously, as the way we're talking, you know that the fight doesn't end well for Bolvar.
He dies.
No, he just got set free.
He's dethroned.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's dead at this point. But I'm pretty sure he'll be there half dying when we get there. We'll talk to him.
And then you get my absolute favorite part of that cinematic. There's
Don?
the helmet laying there on the ground. That's the helmet that bestows the power of the Lich King. And you see Sylvanas pick up that helmet, telling Bolvar he's not fit to wield that power.
Looking like she's going to put it on.
Right there. Like, just, is it about to get set on? And then rips the thing in half, destroying the power that controls death. At least as far as our planet is concerned, or as far as Azeroth is concerned. What is that?
Hashtag Sylvanas broke reality.
Yep, shattering the bounds between life and death itself. And we get to see an image of this other plane of existence. So now we're not even just talking about realms of old gods or other planets or elemental planes. This is something entirely different.
Broke the time space continuum.
Yeah, and we're left wondering, what is that? Where are we going? What's about to happen? And that's our introduction to Shadowlands. And now it becomes speculation. What is it? What does it mean? Why was it necessary to destroy this helmet? And where is this power coming from?
This also leads to, like I know you and me, Don, have talked about conspiracy theories for this expansion times before. So this, I'll bring up the one I thought of a few months ago, since it's relevant. Since we just defeated the Legion in the previous expansion, before Battle for Azeroth, do you guys think that the Legion knew about the Shadowlands before all this started?
I don't think
Not the Legion.
anybody knew. I don't think anybody knew the powers held within the Shadowlands.
Yeah.
Besides the denizens thereof. The only ones that we've ever encountered that might have had a chance of knowing but would never have told us would have been the spirit healers we encounter when a player character dies and can be resurrected. It's keeping us from going to the Shadowlands and being dead for good. Like when souls make their way there, that's the end of them. So I don't think anyone has ever crossed over, anyone has ever experienced that except for one person. One person in the entire game world has ever experienced what that world is like and the power that's held there and what existence there can be like, and that's Sylvanas.
Well, the reason I bring this question up, because the original place where the Helm of Domination, or the Lich King's crown, was created was in the Shadowlands, as explained in recent lore. And the Legion killed Jaden, actually made the Lich King through the soul of Ner'zhul after being tormented gods know how many times. So that just led me to believe maybe the Legion knew something about the Shadowlands, since these artifacts have come from that plane of existence.
It's definitely an interesting theory, and I think they knew of a power that was coming from somewhere, not knowing exactly what that power was, but infusing it into the helm. I don't think they had a knowledge at nearly the level that Sylvanas does.
Yeah, you got to remember, like like even like people, Frostmourne and Lich King, they play with souls left and right at this point, but I don't think they play with souls that are going overboard and back. They're killing somebody and taking the souls now.
Right.
I think the biggest thing, Legion was, that was more Gul'dan and some of that stuff than Shadowlands and them going after Helm or power. It was just Gul'dan wanting to do things himself.
Yeah, and so here's what we do know so far about the Shadowlands, the lore that's been revealed, is that when souls are defeated and they die and they're gone, they go to the Shadowlands and are assigned to one of these 4 different factions, if you will, or rather there's
the Covenants
5
is the name of it. 4 of them, and there's Covenants.
So we've got 4 Covenants.
I want to cover that really quick because I had that up on me right now.
So let's go ahead and explain the 4 Covenants.
So really quick, once you when you enter Shadowlands for the first time, your character will be at level 50. Current 120s will be converted to level 50. So so you'll be going down when you go in there. So that'll be entertaining. That's something that's been confirmed. Yeah, it'll be. That's what I think they have to do.
Level squish.
So you'll be leveled 120 in the main world, but like 50 when you get the Shadowlands. So we got the 4 Covenants, and this is where I wanted to talk to people about like which one they're more excited about, because I'm going to give you the name of them, what their eternal role is, and what the heroic soul is known for being with them, because this is where I get fucked. This is where I'm very confused.
Hey, we all know all the goths are going to be vampires. That's it.
Let me get to that. So, we have the Kyrian, who are the angelic soul guides tasked with shuttling souls between lands of the living and the dead. Their heroic soul is Uther Lightbringer, murdered by Arthas while defending the ash of his father. So that's them. Now, then we have the Necrolords, which is where I get confused because I'm a warlock, so I'm down for this one. They're the military guardians of the Shadowlands, protecting the external forces that wage war on the enemies of death. Their heroic soul is Draka, mother of Thrall, murdered by Gul'dan's Shadow Council forces shortly after giving birth to Thrall. Then we have the Night Fae, the guardians of nature, shepherds of cycle of life and death. Their heroic soul is Cenarius, who is corrupted by the nightmare and purified by the Emerald Dream. And this is one, as a night elf, that I get fucked, which is the Venthyr, who are the punishers of the unworthy, who their souls known to exist there is Kel'Thas Sunstrider, who we covered earlier today. And it's like, wow. And they all get some different abilities, and they're all pretty badass, but like, and the armor looks great and everything else, but like, you think about that for a minute, and it's like, who the fuck would you want to follow at that point? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, my druid has a pretty clear path for that.
Yeah, but my warlock, who I'm a necrolord, I'm a warlock, but I'm also a blood elf who'd want to follow Kael'thas, so it's like, I'm pretty well, and being a huge Thrall fan, following his mom.
Which I'm surprised you didn't say that. That was like your instant winner almost.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm also a blood elf, and their armor for the blood elf one looks very Sindori, very Sindori. And that's where it becomes very, very, very potent and punishes the unworthy. That's Warlock 101. But with that being said, now that we've covered like so much of the lore really quick, and over I would say almost really quick, but that was almost a 2-hour span, and that tells you how much like time you have here. Let me just go ahead.
We tried to abridge it. We tried.
Let me go ahead and just run down some like fun things here. So we've done the key moments. Let me tell you, what's everyone's favorite class? I've talked warlocks 30 times, so obviously I'm a warlock. Jason?
Well, I mean, my two big mains are druid and
DK. Okay. Grant?
Mine would have to be number one would be the paladins, as that's the one I'm mostly been using, and my second would be the shaman.
Chris? Well, obviously mine shaman is my second as well.
For me, main one goes to rangers. Secondary, well, I'll have to go to warriors.
Don? Mr. 120 everything?
Yeah, for those that don't know, I do have a max level everything. So if you look at
sometimes
the class
double
that I have multiples of at max level, it'd be a paladin. But I would have to say druid is probably my favorite.
Nice. I just want to get everyone's favorites here because people give us suggestions. So you guys ever want to message us and we can give you examples of what's so great about these things. Who's your favorite NPCs? And now, I want to say favorite piece, so let's go Horde. Let's start with Horde. Favorite Horde NPCs. I have no idea who that could possibly be for me as I hold Thrall's hammer in my hand.
Sure.
Mankirk's wife.
Exactly. So that's my boy right there. Thrall, like, it says everyone, like, when the Horde, everyone's like, fuck the Alliance. Horde was like, Thrall was like, can't we just work with them for peace? Honestly.
Can we keep this battlefield clean for like 5 minutes?
I'm trying my best here, man. And when he realized that the world's like problems were much bigger than the Horde's, he dropped everything to go take care of it. Jason, what about you? Favorite Horde NPC?
Man, I said it's Mankirk's wife.
Warriors.
No one gets that joke.
No.
It's from Vanilla, and she's fucking dead.
Grant?
My favorite NPC
Horde.
from Horde would actually have to be Gromosh Hellscream. Since you have a really good rise and fall, and then a redemption story at the end before he is taken out first time in our reality, to sort of make a full cycle for his character, as I've mentioned before.
Chris?
Varisa Windrunner.
She's the Void Elf, right?
Nope.
No.
That's the older sister.
That's
Ah.
Illyria.
Illyria.
Varisa is the only elf that is still remaining high elf.
Yep.
Don?
Well, I'm gonna be that guy, and I'm gonna say Sylvanas.
Why?
I think because Sylvanas has had one of the coolest stories, one of the most well-developed stories, one of the most interesting ones to follow. It's you go from this hero that is leader just out of necessity, given a second life that she never had any interest in becoming, was forced upon her, the life of pain and torment, and tries to make sense of it, finds out there's no sense to be made because there's nothing in death that's worth being a part of. And then we get to see a rise, we get to see a bit of redemption into total chaos and destruction of the character, where she just goes off the rails. And now we get to see this progression into Shadowlands, where we might find out maybe there was something to it. She knows something that we don't, and it may turn out to be a case of, yeah, what she was doing all had a purpose that none of us could ever possibly comprehend. Not even talking old gods. It doesn't even play into there. It's even bigger than them. So she's going to play a part in Shadowlands that I think is really going to reveal a lot of this, and I just can't wait to find out where that story goes.
All right, so...
To be fair, Don, hold on, Bruce.
Go ahead.
To be fair, Don, I was going to say Sylvanas earlier myself, but then when I did the little research, I found out about her other sisters. You know, the one that became the Void Elf, and I was like, okay, what happened to this other? Oh, she has one that just became, that was still a high elf. So I read about in each of them. All of them have actually great story backgrounds. So it was just like, Sylvanas, I get, I understand, I overdo. I want to know more about the last sister that remained a high elf that's allied with also the Alliance, technically, because she has she does have a human husband, or had. And honestly, also raises the question, how many other elves out there that are still remaining high elves just like her?
There you go. All right,
Because
So-
they brought back the older sister with the Void Elves after their 1,000-year journey, which was like only a couple of years in real time.
Jason?
Sorry.
Well, an old character I'm curious that I
1 second.
thought might have an interesting story that might come up is maybe in Shadowlands we might hear more about Medivh.
Medivh Shadowsong?
The Last Guardian.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good
I mean,
choice.
he just kind of up and vanished.
I mean, we do get occasional glimpses throughout the game of story elements that he's been a part of, but you're right that he's really set the stage for Warcraft as a series. You know, if not for Medivh, you don't have the opening of the Dark Portal in the first place. You don't have the First War. If not for Medivh coming back and speaking to Thrall, visiting him and telling him, you need to get your people out of this land, travel west across the ocean to Kalimdor, to this new land, and set up there, you don't get that. I mean, that's Warcraft 3's storyline, which then leads us into World of Warcraft. You don't get any of that without Medivh, and on top of that, wielding one of the coolest staves ever in the game, wielding that beautiful Atiesh, and also responsible for making the awesome tower that is Karazhan. That was his. really cool character, and I agree. I hope we do get to find more storyline about Medivh in Shadowlands.
All right. So, in the interest of time, I'll just bunch these next two together. Favorite alliance and favorite villain for NPCs. So, and don't look at me with your eyes roll back in your head. I friggin' gave you guys time on this one. My favorite alliance one still goes to Varian Wren. That dude was a badass. Not only was he a horde at one time because he was brainwashed, but he was a monster. He was a warrior king at certain points. He was so good at what he did.
He was there.
He was the front line every time. Most kings would be like, I want to be in the back. Like, even his son, during like that last battle for Azeroth, was still all the way in the back being protected by Greymane. Where Varian, if he was involved, he would have been like, fuck, get me in the par pit. I want to get in there. And my favorite villain goes to Gul'dan. Like, I mean, not just because he's a warlock. I mean, let's just get that out of the way. But, like, he was able to weasel his way into so many scenarios. And even after dying in, like, Frozen Throne, or not Frozen Throne, like Warcraft 2, excuse me, he was still around being brought back. He was such a compelling character from there that he got brought back. And his ending was so cool that his ending almost mirrored back then when Illidan went to find his skull. Illidan still ended up with his skull again when he was done. Like, and that was just so badass. Like, it was... But he was so powerful and so certain that he convinced other people just to join him. And I enjoyed that. And he took warlock NPCs and he brought them to the front run, which sucks because it makes them still villains, but there are none. And Don's camera disappeared.
Yeah, the battery died.
What am I? Was not? I'm surprised. Why am I like? But like, there are no like Brimstone from the freaking Legion Legion expansion was like the only other warlock you ran into. Like, you can't ask any character, tell me about a cool warlock NPC. We have none. There's no good one. Like, there's no good aligned one to talk about. So it sucks. So we have to latch on to Gul'dan because that man has the power that we're really happy about. What about you, Jason?
I guess for ally, I mean, Jaina's been a badass, and she's a consistently growing badass. So, you know, I'm all for Jaina. And then, villain, man, that's a tough one, because, I mean...
There were so many.
Yeah.
But
I mean...
I'm glad you said Jaina, because
yeah.
now I can say someone else, but Jaina is an amazing character, and that song, the Daughter of the Sea.
Oh, yeah.
That cinematic was awesome, too.
But I genuinely, do yourself a service, and if you don't level all the way, use a boost if you have to. Play through the Battle for Azeroth Alliance side zones, because you'll get more of that story, and it is outstanding.
It's almost like we're all Horde players here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm strictly Horde. I know nothing of the Alliance side, and I'm choosing Jaina. But
seriously, if you don't play it yourself, just find some playthroughs or find some of the cinematic parts. It is so good, so good. It's better than anything that happens Horde side.
All right. Yeah, and then for villain, you know, I'm probably gonna have to go with Arthas. I mean, because I've played. I mean, I started, you know, glimpses of Warcraft 2. I played all of Warcraft 3. I played the Frozen Throne. So, I mean, I've been familiar with Arthas for a long time.
Watching that Descent was so good.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, and he's still, you know, he doesn't really resonate in BFA, but, I mean, with Shadowlands, he might make an appearance again. So
I think he will be with Uther, honestly. If he's going to be anywhere, I think he'll be side by side with Uther. I think he'll go backwards towards his Paladin side and hang out with the Kyrian. Grant? By the way, if anyone asks what I'm going to specific order, it's just what's on my screen, going in a nice little circle.
Okay. So, in terms of for Alliance characters, it's a toss-up between 3.
Pick your favorite. That's
Fordring.
it. Just your favorite.
If that's the case, then I would have to say Prophet Velen as my favorite Alliance character.
That was my fight one between Varian and Prophet Velen.
This is one of those, like, ever since Legion, we now have the full story of why Velen did what he did in order to save his people. He had to sacrifice a lot on the way, but it was in order to ensure that his people survived in the end.
And then himself.
Exactly. Since, especially when we got to Argus, he was fighting himself a lot. Even Illidan was calling him out. And I'm like, you did this. You let them fall to the dark side. You fled when they took over your planet. You need to actually redeem yourself in a way.
How about your...
All this blood is on your hands.
Exactly.
Not theirs.
And then he sacrificed himself to uncorrupted Naru, which was really badass.
Which was the alternate Draenor reality.
Mm-hmm. So, what about your favorite villain?
Like I said many years ago, my favorite villain would still have to be Gul'dan as well, since he's able to do whatever it takes and doesn't care who gets in his way to achieve what he wants. Able to deceive anybody to go along with it. If you think about it, Gul'dan is Palpatine in Warcraft world.
Yep. Chris?
Do Alliance all that often, so I know damn near little of them. I'm gonna go with Greymane because he's always seemed like a badass to me.
Badass
like
old man.
He's not just a badass. He's like an underrated badass. You know,
Okay.
I'm with you. Don't worry.
He's not in the spotlight, but damn, when he does shine, he shines hard.
What about villains that you fought so far?
Oh, villains I fought so far.
Or villains you've seen cinematics for?
Okay. That Deathwing one, the dragon, man.
Oh, Deathwing. Wow, that is a good call.
I mean, I've been a fan of dragons since I was a little kid, and just to watch one just run through, boom, and act like what you all gonna do about it? Nothing. I'll destroy your lane and keep going.
That Cataclysm was one of the greatest events to happen to WoW, and it was done by him, and it was amazing. Yeah. Don?
Alright, well, as far as one of my favorite Alliance characters, since I'm glad someone else picked one that I wanted to say, I'm going to go with a relatively new character in the story, or rather someone coming back, Kalia Menethil. I think this is going to be an exciting character to keep an eye on. Kalia is the one that was responsible for helping the gathering that stepped off BFA with the Forsaken and their living relatives for them to get a chance to meet back together. Well, Kalia was killed during that event, slain by Sylvanas, but...
That bitch.
Yeah, crazy, but Kalia is a character, the first one to be resurrected without the use of death magic. Resurrected by a Naru, using holy magic, using the light. So this is a character that's been brought back from undeath using the light. So it is a light undead.
I did not know there was such thing as light necromancy.
Until this character, it had never once happened, as far as anyone's aware. Not to a human, not to a living normal creature. Now, as opposed to something supernatural.
Isn't there on the Horde campaign a small quest that introduces you to her? I feel like that sounds.
What race is she again?
That's towards the end, since she becomes the undead leader of the Horde. Essentially, at the end of BFA.
It's post Sylvanas leaving. Like I got it. I met someone with a bunch of Forsaken that was Alliance in one quest that I had, and it was very.
So I just did this quest, Jason. I know which one you're talking about. She was the one that helped Derek fix himself originally, and then she was given by Voss. Was given a whole line of Dark Rangers to help fix them too. I couldn't remember her name to save my life. That's why I thought we were talking about. But yeah, she pretty much is taking a whole bunch of the people and a whole bunch of the Dark Rangers, and she's helping guide them on their path, because she's like, I can't know what I can do. I'm like, well, you can give them hope, and that's all that matters. And that's what Derek told her. It's like, you may not be able to direct them, but you can give them hope and thought, and that's what they need right now. And Liliana Voss, that character right there, doing that is showing that she's one of those people that didn't follow Sylvanas in that situation.
Yeah, Lillian Voss is another cool character that got some great story throughout several expansions.
Yep.
Yeah, you've been around her a long time.
Yeah, it was one of those things that we kind of thought, is this even ever gonna go? Like, it could have just been a character for one quest line and that was it, but she kept coming back and she kept doing a lot of very important stuff.
What about your favorite villain, Don?
All right, so I'm gonna go low level with one of my favorite villains, with someone who was scorned and became a villain because of said scorn, Edwin Van Cleef.
Ooh.
Held up in the Dead Mines. Edwin Van Cleef was a stonemason, leader of the Stonemasons Guild. They were rebuilding Stormwind after the first war, when Stormwind was destroyed. Strikes up a deal, says, I'll help you fix this, and basically is responsible for bringing Stormwind back up to its original prowess. And then the nobility said, thanks for your help, we're not going to pay you. They broke the contract with him, and he, out of spite for that, he forms the Defias Brotherhood to torment Stormwind. Thieves and raids, and when you fight him in the game originally as an Alliance character, you just know, hey, this Defias Brotherhood, they're terrible guys. We got to go kill them, and you got to take out Van Cleef. I think you find out a story later, after you've already killed him. You find out what happened.
You fight his daughter, and you get the whole story.
Later, much later, you find out in game what actually happened, and you're like, wow, I probably would have been pissed off too.
Gets +1/+1 for every card you've played. Oh wait, that's Hearthstone. My bad.
Yeah.
And then the final thing here, just to wrap all this up, because I want everyone to have a good memory to go out on really quick. What is your favorite memory from WoW? Something that, it doesn't have to be something like that the cinematic, something you did in the game that makes you happy to think about. And mine, it's kind of funny. It revolves around like two different things that happened. I got bored. I was in the Navy at the time, and I saw the achievements that just came out, and I'm like, and me and my friend Tony Freed had busted our asses to get our mounts, because at the time Warlocks and Paladins didn't just get mounts. You had to really work for that dread steed, and it was a pain, and I got it. And then I got bored. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, so I sat in an internet cafe and I got my Explorer achievement. I ran across all of Azeroth on one horse. So when you see me just hop on my horse, it's out of respect, because that horse had literally driven my ass upwards and downwards, backwards and forwards across Outlands and across...
My horse is amazing.
Right? It fucking is amazing. And we did all this shit, and while I was doing that, this is where the story gets funny. I was randomly running, and I was just running up the Cape of Stranglethorn, and out of nowhere, I see a line of max level characters just running. And I'm like, what are you people doing? And I grabbed one and I whispered, what's going on? And I get an invite to a raid. I am not max level, by the way, by any means. I wasn't leveling. I was trying to take a break from leveling. I was going to take a questing. And I get invited to this raid, and they're going to kill every Alliance main leader at that time. And I'm like, shit, I have an energy drink next to me. I'm now in this for the long haul. And all I have to do is get one ability to land on these guys. And at that moment, I not only did I get my Explorer treatment, because I needed Ironforge, Stormwind, and all these places that there's no way in hell I could have walked into alone. And I got my Armored Black Bear for killing all the Alliance leaders out of the most random chance of luck of running around. And it was just so fucking funny because there's everyone around me, and I'm doing this all on a small HP crap laptop, by the way, very small. And they're all just like, I have people like, what are you doing? I'm like, this server's doing like an alliance kill run, and I'm now involved. Like, how? Like, I don't know, my laptop couldn't handle what was going on. I'm spamming 1 for corruption because maybe it'll land on Varian at one point. But it was probably, because as soon as it ended, it was, you got a brown bear in your mailbox. I'm like, that is or black bear. That's probably the coolest thing that I'd ever done. Just randomly, after traveling everywhere on the back of a horse, come across a big ass raid and just join in. Jason?
Well, I mean, I had that happen at some low levels too, so that was pretty cool. But to change it up, then, one of the earliest big moments I've had in the game was, experiencing the Gates of Anchorage, that whole opening, and man, that like the computer I had at that time barely like loaded anything because there was like thousands of people there. It was just so cool because like, it was a big race. There's so many people there, just like a whole unified, like literally world that was there for this event, and it was just super cool to witness.
Yeah, I unfortunately wasn't playing at the time. I joined shortly after, but I did get a chance to see that my college roommate his server was experiencing it, and he said, "Hey, just come and watch this. It's gonna be awesome." So I got to look at it. I got to see it happen.
Grant, what about you? What's your favorite moment that you experienced?
Unfortunately, I do not have any like favorite moments like how you guys have it. The only one I remember is that many years ago, like right before Wrath of the Lich King came out, me and my friends at the time, we would actually all get together at one house and actually play the game at one table, kind of like in that South Park episode.
Oh, dude, we did that all the time.
This was right before they did the quest helper for Lich King. Mm-hmm. So if we ever got lost, we had like a stack of the manuals with the maps in it, and we looked at them while we're all together just trying to figure out which direction we got to go for this certain quest. But in terms of for a side thing, one of the most memorable things I've experienced in WoW was one of the cinematics in Legion that really hit home was the Ysera's death cinematic in Legion.
Oh,
I was watching that and the tone of it and the music, and it's like, wow, that's really hitting home.
That was great. Chris, the most least experienced player on our little panel here. What about you? So far.
Honestly, I'll have to say when around the time of like Legion, Draenor, Pandaria, when I started hitting levels on my own, when I wasn't questing with you. To me, it felt like, hey, I finally understand this game. I finally know what I'm beginning to really do.
Nice.
I'm finding my stride,
Nice.
That's a good feeling.
That is a good feeling, honestly, because I did the same thing with my friend Tony. We did some ridiculous ass shit together, and it was fine to like feel like I was finally on my own when I didn't have him around. Don?
Oh man, there are so many different stories I could talk about, and I've been sitting here trying to figure out which one to bring up. And I think the one that I'm gonna bring up because it's most pertinent to an MMO is it was my college roommate EJ that got me into playing, and he rolled a new character so that we could level up together. We both rolled druids, and we would always play together. Rarely was there a time when we'd be playing solo until we got to higher levels. But I remember running through the barrens into Thousand Needles, him and just 2 feral druids destroying vanilla content. So much fun to have someone there to play with. And when Burning Crusade came out, I mean, that was in January of 2007. There was a snowstorm happening. I was out in Indiana at the time, and we still drove to the mall to pick up a copy at midnight, stood in line with a bunch of other WoW players, picked up the game, came home, stopped at McDonald's to grab some food because we were going to be up for a while, loaded up the game, and hopped into Burning Crusade content together after having leveled all the way to 60, playing and being in the dorm rooms at the time. His desk was right behind mine. He was 2 feet away from me, so always in direct communication. Always we'd go out to dinner and then be like, all right, it's time for Ashenvale. Let's head back. And you know, that was probably the most important time for me as a WoW player. To have that shared experience.
I think it was funny because you bring that up, and it's kind of like when I did the whole thing with Jason with the Cataclysm. I had pre-ordered at a different location, and I went down and got it because it was before the GameStop in near me opened up near my parents. I ended up going in there, meeting a whole bunch of new players that I still have on my friends list. And we ended up, because the game didn't go live till 3 a.m., and it was like midnight when we picked it up, we all went to IHOP and just sat there and talked. It's like, we just sat there and talked in IHOP. I had never met these people before. And I'm like, fuck, these guys are cool. All right, but the main part of this was, we have this game that's still going. And I made the title of this, WoW, it's never going to end. 1, it was meant for the quarantine. 2, it's this game, and they put a lot of content in it, but you notice that a lot of what we said wasn't moments that we remember the most, moments that we loved the most, weren't moments that were prefabricated by the game. There were moments we made for each other, and that's something as a person most people need to do. And I think it's most in life, honestly. I go to a lot of places where people are expecting all these great moments, but most of my moments that I can remember are moments that I made with my friends. And I say, if you're thinking about something to play right now, I say get on WoW, give it a go. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna have a good time. And we're not all nerds. We're not all like greasy, fat up nerds like South Park makes us to look. I mean, we're not all Grant. I mean, I love you, but I love you, buddy.
It was coming. I knew it.
It was you or Chris. It was 50-50. Most of us are bald with beards or goatees, you know. But we have a great time, and we try to make those moments. And I think that's a great time to call it a close. We'll see you guys back again in 2 weeks. We'll find something to talk about. I've been having a great time. You'll see us on streams. Come follow us. It's a good time on twitch.tv/ComicClowns. Follow us on all these other abilities, all these other like medias that we're on. Facebook, Spotify, Podbean, everything. And I hope to have you guys back. It's such a good time. Thank you, Garja, for the Twitch Prime subscription. Chris, you prick. If you guys have one of those, throw it to us. It helps us out, honestly. It does help support the channel. Grant, I want to say, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for everyone else for you three in particular, Jason, Chris, Don, for coming back and talking with me. This does help, especially in the quarantine. Kong, thank you for the Twitch Prime. But honestly, I want to say, Grant, thank you for coming back. I'll always run things by you, especially because you don't have to travel now, especially with all this talking this way. And I'll see you guys. Anybody want to sign off with anything? Anybody, Jason, you got anything you want to say?
For the Horde.
Goddamn right it is. Grant?
I'll top that. For Azeroth.
No, Horde's still better. Chris, anything you want to plug? All right, Don?
I will echo what you said, Bruce. Now is the time more than ever that we need to remember the fun that we've had, the fun that we've made for ourselves with friends. That's gonna get us through the time we're in right now, and keep the morale up, stay in contact with people, and hey, what better way to do that than through an MMO?
Don't forget Digital Cocoa Inc. for Don. Honestly, if you need anything made, anything. He does such a great thing. Find him on our find his page, Digital Cocoa Inc. Honestly, And always remember, honestly, as Jason said, for the Horde. You guys have a great night, all right? And we'll see you guys next time we are live.